There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring up the volume. If we wish to make it softer, we will tune it to a whisper. We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can roll the image, make it flutter. We can change the focus to a soft blur, or sharpen it to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit quietly and we will control all that you see and hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your television set. You are about to participate in a great adventure. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to...
Yes, good evening, everybody. This is your host, Jarvis Cocker, on Jarvis's Corner. We are back with a vengeance. Sorry we couldn't be with you last Monday. I was out traveling, but now we are back and we have a lot to discuss on tonight's show. There's been a lot going on with Ten Hag. Are you Ten Hag in or are you Ten Hag out? It's a big discussion in the fan base. We have a lot to talk about. It's a meeting on Tuesday in the morning with the board, Ratcliffe, INEOS, Joe Glazer. Everybody will talk about one thing. Will Ten Hag stay or will he go? Will he stay or will he go? I don't know, but we will know tomorrow. And we will talk about the game. We will break down the game. I have some tactical things that I will show you that I saw that I haven't seen anybody talk about. But you know, Jarvis, I have a sharp eye. I know what I see. So it will be interesting. And we have a special breakdown tonight with Tom, who will tell you all about the latest verdict on Manchester City and the FA with the ruling that came out today. So it will be interesting. Stay tuned. And now over to my two special guests on the panel, Football Power Hour and Tom Journalist 1. So first of all, cheers, Poppy. How are you doing, my friend?
Cheers. I'm doing good, sipping some peppermint tea. It's starting to get cold over here, and Tom, it's starting to get cold out here in Massachusetts, so in Boston. So
yeah, you get winter time in Massachusetts. That's up in the north.
Cold.
Yeah, it gets pretty cold. So
yeah.
Snows a lot as well, doesn't it, during winter?
Yes. Usually, a lot of snow. Although the last couple of years there hasn't been that much snow as it has been historically. So so it's the change of weather vibes. That's what's going on over here. But I'm doing as well as I can do right now in all the changes and all the things that are happening. But also, international break. If only Man United gifted us a win, it would be on a bit of a positive. But right now, it's this sort of like limbo period of which I'm sure we'll get into in the show. So
yeah. Well, sounds good.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, have you ever gone skiing up in Massachusetts, or do you have to go all the way north to Maine or Canada?
You have to go north, even to New Hampshire. You can do some skiing, and in Vermont. And no, it's funny because I'm more of a snowboarder than a skier.
Well, I have to tell you, Bobby, I actually been to Boston. I've been to Massachusetts, all area around New England. I've been driving up to New Hampshire. I even took a helicopter from Boston to New Hampshire with a friend of mine.
Hit me up next time, Travis.
I've been up to Maine skiing, so I'm familiar with your area, man.
Okay.
I've been around.
All right. Well, next time if you're coming this winter, you gotta let me know, bro. You gotta let me know.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can I bounce back the question to you before you ask Tom? How are you doing? How things?
I'm good. I'm coming down with a cold, so I have a little sore throat, but I'm good. It's a stressful time for me this year. It's a silly season in my line of work because it's it's I work with cars and stuff like that. So now it's a shift from summertime to winter time, and there's a lot of crazy things going on. So I work 24 hours now, so it's a lot to do. But I'm fine. I can't complain. I'm healthy, and my family are good, and I can't complain.
That's
And
fantastic.
I can complain a little bit about Man United, but you know me, I'm trying to be realistic, trying to be positive.
Yes, as
Yeah,
you should, as you should.
yeah.
Have you ever tried sky jumping? While you were talking about helicopters, Lily's was like, "I love sky jumping." I think this is something Man United fans should do.
Fucking hell.
We are
All
free
the Eric Ten
falling.
Hag
We are
artists
free
like
falling.
Tom, try sky jumping.
Listen, I've got it booked in a year's time. I'm on a waiting list to go do skydiving. Not sky jumping, but skydiving.
Sky,
I'm on a list to do it in a year. We're going and doing it over in Spain. And I think one of my friends has booked it for us all in Madrid, if I'm not mistaken. So it's for in a year, though. You've got to go on a waiting list. But yeah, it's best of the best. And it's one of those life experiences. You've got to do it to then say that you've actually been there and done it. Put it that way.
Yeah.
That's what people have told me that's been and done it. So
I didn't know you were a daredevil, Tom. That you like to challenge faith.
Jarvis, I sit on top of mountain cliffs and look down on building projects all the time or cliff fronts. Jarvis, I'm not scared of heights. Put it that way. No, you might have a high vis and you don't have any of this cables or safety equipment or anything. You've got your hard hat and your hard boots, and that's it. You see what you're building, constructing, and that's it.
I can picture myself in my head with Tom. You know, one of those old pictures in skyscrapers, people sitting on those bars, eating lunch with the lunch boxes dangling with your feet.
Right? Saying this manager got to go.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, how's your weekend been, Tom? Have you been out traveling or just staying home watching football, working?
No, it's been it's been quite a busy week anyway. I've got a similar sort of issue at the moment with climate change and stuff. So trying to get materials and stuff and that for a couple of his projects and stuff is a bit hard at the moment with transport and that. But it's not been as bad at the start of this week. It's been a nightmare at the end of last week and stuff, business wise. But it's just one of those things. You've got to rotate and you've just got to adapt to that. We've got the winter coat out of the wardrobe already, guys. I'm freezing my nuts off. You can't go around anymore. Listen, Pappy's already inside. He's got his, what you said, green tea. He's already got a hoodie on. Jarvis is sitting there over in a blue shirt, mate. This is the life. This is the life, mate.
Sorry.
T-shirts, hoodies. It's terrible, but no, it's been a decent week and everything. But look, football. Listen, we'll discuss it and everything, and we'll get onto it and that. And just a little comment, I guess we could say, for one of the reasons Stu's not here tonight. By the way, people, it is for a personal reason, a personal circumstance. So we'll give him his due respects and his privacy and that, and we wish him love, and if people can give him some love in the chat as well. So yeah, big up to Stuart and his family.
Big ups, Stu. I hope you are well, my friend. Yeah, and I just want to say hi to the VAR room. I see familiar faces as usual. I'm glad that you all are here. Remember to smash the like and subscribe if you haven't, and help us spread the good word of Jarvis's Corner to the rest of the ether. We have Realist United, Lucky Singh in the chat. Star Lord is here. MUFC Realist TV. I believe that's Mick who is in the chat. We have Dave Porter, the Normality channel with Riley Taylor is here. Big up, Riley Taylor. We have Never Miss Rob. Who else do we have here? Neil Driscoll is in the house. Good to see you. Neil Driscoll. And Will Man United 99 is here. And people, get your comments in and give us topics to talk about. We will have, as usual, Devil's Advocate in the show. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the show, so save up the good question for last, and we will try to answer as many as we can at the end of the show. But first of all, and we have Strefford Gamer and Dave147 in the chat also. Big up, my friends. Thank you for joining us and watching the show. Let's just start and go into the show, because there's been a lot of talk lately. I feel that the fan base has gone through a lot of emotions the last week or so, and I just want to say, here's my take on the manager situation. I just want to bring up my thoughts first before I ask Poppy and Tom, because I think we need to address this, because I have some questions. I've been following the debate the last week, and here's my thought on the manager situation. Because do we really know if Ten Hag will fail? Because I feel that a lot of people are certain that he will fail. And then again, I ask, what are we basing this on? How can we be sure that we aren't where Ferguson was in '89, or Arteta with the Arsenal, or Klopp with Liverpool? Because I'm not saying that Ten Hag is our next Ferguson, but I think we need to be cautious. Even though who wanted him out last year can't guarantee the outcome, you know. So speculation is one thing, but knowing is another thing. So I feel we gotta say our opinions and respect the other opinions of the fan base, because nothing is certain in life besides taxes and death. So I would like to have an open debate, respect each other, not yell at each other, call each other names, even though we are Ten Hag in or Ten Hag out. For me, that's we are all Man United supporters. So like, let's try to keep it civilized, and have a an adult conversation about it. So I haven't heard from you, Poppy, and what's your point on the last weekend's current events with Ten Hag? What's
Yeah.
your thought?
So it, I'll summarize it like this. So I am frustrated by where we are in the league. I'm frustrated by this horrible start that we have experienced under Ten Hag, who's breaking his own record from last season of not having a good start. I am very, very, very against some of the decisions that Eric Ten Hag has taken as a coach, but I am not at that point where I want him gone. I think, like, for me, the just because of something like that, I believe in strongly about progress is not a linear journey. It sometimes in a rebuild, there'll be moments where there is actual evident clear progress and some slight moments of regression, but those moments of regression should not cloud my one's judgment of the whole picture. So I really feel like we're in a turbulent moment with Eric Ten Hag right now, and he needs to assess, evaluate, and re-strategize. And he deserves the opportunity to be given that chance to fix up. And we're looking at the fact that he's in year one, not year three, year one, with a good structure behind him, with actual players that are more Eric Ten Hag identity type of players. And he hasn't even had a chance to play all of them. Some of them has been circumstances like injuries. Lenny Euro, he hasn't been able to feature in a competitive league game because of injuries. Rasmus Højlund is just coming from a hamstring injury. There's all these moving variables that are contributing towards me having this opinion. And some of those variables include things like we have a new coaching staff, we have a new assistant under Ten Hag, we have new players that have come in that still have to build partnerships and relationships with each other on the pitch before we can actually make an educated evaluation on Eric Ten Hag. So I'm willing to give him more time. And I think, I slept on this last night because a lot of Man United fans were on my neck yesterday about this. And I think the time that he deserves is probably till the end of the season. And then we can make a clear assessment about what he's capable of with the tools and ingredients that have been availed to him.
You're on mute, Jarvis.
Jarvis, you're on mute.
Jarvis, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. I it's been a while, it's been 2 weeks. I'm a little bit rusty when it comes to hosting the show. Yeah, but I want to say I share your thoughts, Poppy, and I'm I'm uh, I'm I'm been in the what do you call it, the lion's den, the hole of the lion with the lions.
Describe it.
Yeah, with Nuruddin and Tom and
Oh,
all the other on United Real Therapy, and
yes.
I have to hold my ground and really fight for my opinions, and
Okay.
I'm open. I'm open, and I understand all the disappointments. I see a lot of people are angry, and they are upset, and they have so many emotions at one time because things are not going our way. We had big expectations before this season. We bought a lot of players, and finally we won the FA Cup, and finally Ten Hag was going to fix this. We have backing, we have INEOS, we have everything looked well, and now suddenly we woke up and we are 14th in the table. We're losing games, we can't score goals. Something is really wrong. Is it Eric Ten Hag? It must be Eric Ten Hag. So I understand in a way why people feel this way. So I'm not going to sit here and try to convince people who are watching to be Eric Ten Hag in. It's not my job. I won't do that.
Mm-mm.
I will tell you my opinion. I respect your opinion. If you're Eric Ten Hag out, yeah, I understand. I do. I really do. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you are right. Maybe we will become a much better team when we just get rid of Eric Ten Hag because he is the problem. But for me personally, I feel that longevity is important when you try to build something. When you try to achieve something, you have to work hard for a long time. And it's not, as you said, Poppy, it comes in. You can't always see the progress. Sometimes it feels like you're going backwards, but you're actually working hard, and suddenly, boom, everything hits, and every star in the sky aligns, and everything goes your way. So it comes in spells. It could happen, probably not. Will he get backed? Will he get sacked? I don't know. But for me personally, I hope that Ten Hag will stay at least for till the end of the season, and we will see. Because I believe he needs time, but I'm not God, so I don't know. I can't see the future, but that's what I believe. Tom, what's your thoughts?
You're in the minority in the panel, Tom. Are you?
No, just no minority or majority. We're all
No.
Man United fans. That's the majority.
I don't know. I'm guessing where Tom is. I'm so curious to hear. So
Well, I'll put it this way: I'm not sitting over the fence. I fell over the fence a couple of games ago. What you said there, guys, where you said that you want to give him one last chance.
Mhm.
I gave him his second chance in the summer when they renewed him on and they kept him on from until now. The context of it, listen, we'll get onto the individual game of Aston Villa, but the context from when I gave him that second chance in the summer to now, he has had everything his own way that he always wanted. If people said to me that he wanted this structure above him, I don't really think that he did, because it means that he loses control over the football club. And I think he's a guy who he wants influence. He wants to be in control of transfers. He wants to have this power veto over players. And I think he still has that at this club. And I think that was one of his contingencies to say that I will stay on, because you did look at employing other managers in the summer. You chose them ahead of me. I want an extra zero on the end of my contract, and I still want to carry some power in this club. And I think they've just gave him that. I think they gave him it his own way. And at the end of the day, when I look at the context of it all, we have 14th in the league. We've played 7 games and we've scraped 8 points. We have had 2 international breaks already, and we are nowhere. We are closer to the bottom of the table than the top. And I understand when people give context about Ferguson. That was in a different dimension and generation of football. Football back then managers got 10 years to get it right at football clubs. You get 18 months now. That's how modern day football works. The same thing when people use the phrasing with Arteta. Arsenal at that time didn't have the money to sack Mikel Arteta because in the summer they just gave him a new contract for 4 years. And when they gave him said contract, they would have had to pay him and his staff off £20 million. They invested £150 million in that squad following on from that summer. If they would have sacked Mikel Arteta at that time, they would have broken the PSR and the financial regulations of the league. So they were forced to stick with him. It wasn't this glorified decision that some people make out. They had to stick with him because if they sacked him, they'd have breached the guidelines and the rules. They kept on with him, and fair enough, it's worked out for Arsenal. That's one succession point. One. Ten Hag, in the time that Arteta was there, has had more money than him. He's had, and I always talk about this, guys. I don't believe my anger doesn't come about the amount of money that he spent, because every Manchester United manager will always spend money, regardless of who they are. We will always spend money as a club. The backing that the guy has received off the field is what frustrates me more as to why people still perceive that there's something great with this guy. He's had everything his own way. Whenever he wanted to get rid of a player, he wanted to get rid of Ronaldo, one of the greatest players in football in our club's history. Gone. See you later. When you want to get rid of Jadon Sancho because you've got a cultural problem with the player or he doesn't fit what you want is an environment within your squad, you get rid of him. Bang, see you later. But he's a talented player. And we've shipped him off to a rival. And we're seeing the repercussions of it because he is playing decent games now with a coach that actually believes in him. The same thing where they backed him in the summer. They assessed candidates. They interviewed candidates. They then went back to him and they said, okay, we believe in you. So they've reinvested in him. They gave him their time. They gave him another year on the additional of his contract. And they've gave him the budget that he had in the summer, which was about 200 million, was it not, guys? I think it was. But it was about net spend of like 100 million or whatever. But anyway, they've spent 200 million out of their own pocket to invest in the guy. He's also, like you guys said, he's got 2 new assistant coaches on his squad. I'm unsure about the Van Nistelrooy one because I do think there is a club connection towards that as well. But I also think it's a guy that Ten Hag would have accepted under the circumstances of it. And I also believe that René Hax is one of Ten Hag's guys that he would have wanted because he worked at a former club in Go Ahead Eagles, where at the time René Hax was I can't remember if he was a technical director. I think he was an analytics guy at the time. You're going back quite a long time, I think about 9 years anyway, but it's one of his guys. The context that I'm giving there, guys, is we are not in this year 1. This is year 3. And I understand when people say that there's a new structure in town. Absolutely. But the pressures and the standards of our football club mean a lot to me. And if you give this guy till the end of the season, you are not going to see top 4. The data that is out there on form and our performance tracking predicts that we, at best, can finish 8th. That's based on analytics and the way that we are playing. The data proves that. It's out there. Then you also have to look at the actual points ratio that we're getting per game. We are not going to get through the Champions League, through the Europa League, with the way that we are playing. We've not won one game in about 10 in the Europa League. That's a terrible record for us as a football club. And at the end of the day, I just look at a lot of these players and I think, when he went to that game at Villa on Sunday, he'd spent £300 million, like half of his budget was on his bench. But he didn't bring those guys to sit on the bench. They are his first team players that he wants to pick week in, week out. The one thing that's always frustrated me with Ten Hag, guys, is he said 3 different times about this style of play. When he first came in here, I'm going to adapt my style from the Eredivisie to the Premier League. That's what he said. He didn't do it in the first year. In the second year, when he was questioned about it, he said, I want to play fast transitional football. He didn't do that. It was this 3-1-6, open hole in midfield, basketball football. That's what we all rhyme it as. And we're now in year 3 where he says that I want to instill a disciplined, controlled possession of football. We can't keep the ball. Statistics prove it, but also your eyes don't lie to you. And the fact of that he's setting a 4-4-2 basic standard formation. Okay, he got a point against Villa, fine. It wasn't 3 points. Let's not make it up to be it was a brilliant success. He didn't get 3 points, he got 1. And the fact of it all is, guys, context of it all, you cannot sit here and say this is acceptable for a big football club. No club in Europe would accept being 14th in their league after 3 years with a guy who you've invested 1,600 million in. That's context. That's points. And that's what will be brought up tomorrow when they decide if they should keep him on or not. That's the pointers against. And yeah, there'll be pointers for it. He's won 2 cups. Okay, he might have brought in a couple of players. He's improved, say, Delo as a player individually. He's got youngsters a go, fine. But the context of it all, guys, is I want to see Manchester United in 2 or 3 years win a league title. And I don't see Man United winning a league title. Forget winning it, challenging for it in 2 or 3 years with this guy at the helm. That's where I stand on it because of all of the context that's around it. And everything around him is perfect. And he's had it perfect since the summer. I gave the guy a chance in the summer. And after 7 games, after all the context that I've seen, put in a spreadsheet, and I've looked at each point going down and down and down, he broke his own record from last season with the worst start to a Premier League season. He's broken his own record this season, and it's even worse than it was last season. The context of it all, guys, shows to me this guy is not going to take us forward and win us the big honours in football. Turnarounds can happen, yes. But these players, a lot of them thought he was gone in the summer. They thought they were getting someone new. That's what these guys believed. They didn't believe he was still going to be here. So why are you going to still play for a guy that you didn't even believe was going to be here anyway? And they already undermined him when they spoke to other coaches in the summer. The players know about all this. If we know as fans, the players are going to know even more than us about how close Thomas Tuchel was to coming, or De Zerbi, or whoever. They're going to know better than us. But at the end of the day, I look at the way that they've set this structure up. Everything around this club changed. Everything. They sacked Murto out of there, director of football. They sacked Richard Arnold, who's had allegiances in this club for about 10 years, and he was one of the Glazers' boys. They sacked these guys out of there, no problem. See you later, P45. So when people think that they're not going to that they're afraid to get rid of a manager because they're afraid of the repercussions after it, I just think when I look at a lot of the fan base and they say that I want to give Erik Ten Hag time, I just think that a lot of people are scared of what's going to come after because they think it's going to get a lot worse. The only way we can go worse, guys, is 20th. The only way that this can get better is you go up the league table. A new manager bounce can last you that. And that's where I stand with it. Context providing of all of it, I just can't see a future with this guy. I've gave him his second chance in that summer, and he's let me down. He has failed us up to this point, and he will continue to fail us till the end. Go on, Jarvis.
I get where you're coming from, and I understand your arguments, and there's valid arguments you make. But trying to be precise, when was the time you really understood that Ten Hag wasn't the man, and why was the reason you thought so at the moment? Was it like the tactics, his selection, his behavior, his man management, his in-game management? What was the red flag for you in a way?
If I'm being completely honest, probably to the latter end of last season was when I fell out. I started to feel that I can't see a future with this guy. The only reason why I decided to give him this second chance, and it wasn't based upon how INEOS did with one-off game in that FA Cup, because if he loses the FA Cup, he's gone. There's nothing that he can hold on to. There's no, emotional sentiment to the guy because he's won a cup. There's none of that. He's gone. They wanted to get rid of him in the summer, guys, and because he won that FA Cup, it gave them a bulldozer in the way to say that we can't sack this guy because he's had such a high, but he would have gone out of this club on a positive. That's a positive, guys. He would have left this club on a positive, and we would have gone forward on a positive. And for me, when I look at that time, Jarvis, that's when I thought something's not right here, because I'm not seeing this style of play that he promised us all. We brought this guy in to play the Ajax way. He's not brought that. Okay, then he said he wanted to change it and he wanted to play transitional football. I've not seen that. Now he's changed his mind again and said, I want this disciplined control football. We can't keep the ball, lads. That's not disciplined control football. I'm sorry. He's lied to us all for 3 years. And some people still want to have a bit of faith and believe it. And I've just said the reason why I think people still have that. I think people are scared of what's going to happen in the future. But in the future, guys, you can get behind something else. We will always spend money as a club. And managers come and go from clubs. You don't have managers stay here 10 years anymore, guys. The business of football is you're in for 4 years. You might win for 3 of them. You're out the door in the 5th. Because you probably want a break from football. Klopp's just proven that. And one of those...
Everything okay, Tom?
Sound like a dog.
He got attacked by Ten Hag's dog. Let's hope he's okay. So, a couple of things that I wanted to respond to. I mean, unless you want to go first, Jarvis, but Tom raised some important points. That here's the thing. I understand we as Man United fans, a lot of Man United fans fell in love with United during Sir Alex Ferguson's time, which is partially where the frustration is coming from. We're used to winning. We're used to being on top. We're used to instilling fear on the opposition. So when you don't see those things happening, it clearly has an impact on you. It clearly makes you feel like we're not moving forward. But here's the thing. We got to understand where we are. We got to really understand where we are in the rebuild process. Right now, we've seen, even if we just look around the landscape and look at where, say, Chelsea Football Club is, right? They have a new manager, Enzo Maresca. You could attribute that they have scored so many goals and in a good moment right now because of the phenomenon that we all know in football as a football fan, new manager bounce, you know? And they've had other managers prior to that, but put the manager conversation aside and look at what they have done with that player recruitment. There's been a cohesive through line that some people make fun of and say, wow, Todd Bowley just going on a shopping spree again. But that's because they're really trying to find the right players that really fits their identity and the direction that they want to go as a team, right? And now that means the players that they get, for the most part, complement each other. Mudryk, you can put Mudryk aside. He's a special case. But for the most part, there are players that have a clear, yin and yang. They fit what they fit off of each other in terms of looking at what the vision of the club is. But for Manchester United, we're ways behind in terms of Chelsea's rebuild. I'm not talking to managers. I'm talking about player recruitment and player strategy, players that are in sync with the ideals of what the team, what the organization is trying to do. So now when we use the barometer of, say, look at whatever, Real Madrid, they had Zidane, then they went to, I think, was it Lopetegui? And then they realized that's not going to work. And then they, changed. And the reason why Real Madrid is able to do that is because they know that they have already done the homework on the recruitment side. Now, with Man United, Erik Ten Hag, the first year was all about stabilizing the ship. You remember he inherited a mess of a club. He inherited a club that was in turmoil. Actually, we all were surprised by what Erik Ten Hag was able to achieve in the first season and being in 2 cup finals. And it was just sort of like, wow, and a very good defensive record at home. Then the second season was when Erik Ten Hag was saying, all right, now it's time for me. I've stabilized the ship. It's time for me to instill my identity and my vision into the club. And what happened? We had a freak season of injuries. That is a fact. The combinations of center backs we played, no other club was doing the same as like us.
But you could argue it was because of Ten Hag's insistent on playing the same 11 all the time and overplaying them.
You could, You could argue that.
And you had the
could
World
argue
Cup
that
in the
the
middle of
players
the
were
season.
not also robust enough. The players were not the type of players that actually are able to sustain the type of football that he wants to play. You could argue that as well. But the thing that we can say is objective is that the number of injuries we had was astronomical, and that has to have an impact on somebody's season. But guess what? He has an FA Cup to show for it. Now, I'm not saying it's fine to finish where he finished last season in the league, because for me, I understand Ten Hag he's a manager that's also, it's not like he's an experienced Premier League manager. He's done 2 full seasons. He's now starting he's in his 3rd season. And those seasons, those games, those moments where things haven't gone right, they're moments of learning for Ten Hag. So he needs to look at himself in the mirror. He said that in a press conference. He needs to ask the players, why is it that I'm giving you so much information and it's not being shown on the pitch? He needs to actually have that moment where he learns about himself, learns about his players, learns about his coaching staff. And in this particular year, there's a lot of moving variables. INEOS themselves have said, Tom, you said you want to be competing for 2 to 3 years. INEOS themselves have said it will take about 2 to 3 years till the conditions are right at Manchester United for a manager to succeed. So that's 2 to 3 new signings in a summer. We need to see that flushing of players that are not able to do what a manager is asking them to do. A manager that is tactically or a manager that has a high tactical IQ, like Erik Ten Hag. Now, he has lots of stuff where he needs to work on his in-game management, some of his choices, even his press conferences as well. There's a lot of things. He's no saint, by the way. I'm saying all this to say that he has to learn, he has to improve, and he has actually 2 trophies in the bank, which is enough credit for me, from my perspective, to say, oh, this guy, let's see what one more year can do with, since now, for the most part, we have flushed out a lot of the players that were not in the Ten Hag philosophy. Now, we know that the left back situation needed to be addressed, and guess what? INEOS did not address it. We know the pace at which some of these players, some of these new signings, even the ones that came in this season, like some of them didn't even go on the trip to America on the preseason tour. Like that preseason tour is just a PR trip. And so a lot of learning has actually started happening in front of us on television in the first 7 games. Now, Tom, I understand, and I really, really respect you and your opinion. And I just want us to just like give Ten Hag just the understanding of the situation that he finds himself in. And I think that can give you a little bit more perspective on like, all right, maybe just give him a few more months and see what he can cook, because now all his ingredients are sort of more or less laid on the table for him, you know?
No, I get where you're coming from. The only thing is, did he not have this evaluation period in the summer where he could have built a new game model? He could have built this style of play that was going to influence, because clubs, they prepare like a summer window in advance. Man United already know what their plan is for next summer and the sort of profile of play. They don't know the players per se, but they know what they need to improve, where they need to improve, and then they identify them as closer to the summer as they get. That's how every club works. So Ten Hag will have known that, okay, we're signing a number 9, we're signing a midfielder, we're signing a couple of centre-backs. Okay, the right-back thing got sprung on him, but he ended up getting a player that he likes. And listen, for me, Mazraoui, I like him as a player, regardless of this whole toxicity situation we have within the squad right now. The thing is with me, he had a time in that summer and he had a pre-season where he could have worked things. He could have built this, discipline control style of play that he wants to have for this season. He could have built this with these players. It doesn't take years to do this. It can take months. You've seen Maresca. Yeah, okay, he's gone in there with some players. None of those players that are in that club, guys, are really his players. They've been forced upon him. That's what they had. Okay, but with Ten Hag, in his most recent game, what you said, Papi, about he brought in all these new players because he wants to supposedly improve and everything. he ended up going back to the old players that have failed us time and time again, like Harry Maguire, the likes of when you bring in such as Eriksen, for example. Eriksen was not supposed to play 120 minutes in the last 2 games, but he's done it because he's more experienced than the other players around him. He brought in Ugarte. He's not started the last 2 games. He's not even played actually in the last 2 games. Like these are question marks that have to be asked to him, and he's brought in players like Anthony, who's supposedly going to blow up this league for the price tag that we paid for him. He's not done that, and that's one of the things where I just look at it and I think when you add all the context around it, we can sit here and say we can give him time. He had time to build something for 3 months over a summer window while everything else was he's the coach now. He doesn't have to do the transfers. That's done for him with this new structure above him. So he can work on the coaching, the style of play. He can bring in, like he's brought in Van Nistelrooy and René Hack. They can help influence him to say, okay, let's do this, that. And you have experts in certain areas of your coaching, and then that builds the style of play together. But after 7 games, I've not seen that. And we've already had 2 international breaks, guys. The first one, we was rocky road after the first international break. He had 2 weeks there where he could have reevaluated, reassessed where's it gone wrong from the summer till the first international break. And we've still seen the same sort of pattern where we're not getting results, performance is low, morale's low with players, we're not scoring goals. And he didn't find a solution then. He's now got 2 weeks now. Instead of staying in Manchester and actually working on something with his coaching staff on the training pitches, either tactically, you could even use young players as a hybrid to try and see if your plan works and use your principles before the first team comes back. He's jetted off back to Holland to go on a holiday for a week. That's not a guy that I look at and I think that he looks at this team and he thinks there's a massive problem. I don't think he understands the issues and the problems that is within this team. And I think the reason why he doesn't understand that is because he looks at it and thinks, they've invested in me. They gave me an extension. I think he believes in a lot of this, what they've done. But all I'm going to say, if I was to Erik Ten Hag, if I was one of these interviewers or I was in the press room, is they was one conversation, positive conversation, and you was not in the job, Erik Ten Hag. If Thomas Tuchel would have agreed to work under a football structure, and you would have agreed to allow, or Manchester United and INEOS would have allowed him to have the same power that you have over this window and keep your transfer veto, because that's pretty much what Tuchel wanted, the same sort of scenario. That's where they didn't come to an agreement, because neither side wanted to bow down to the other's demands. If that would have happened, you don't go to the lengths, guys, of flying a manager and his agent out on a private jet hired by you to go to meet you at a location if you don't think that there's something to go by. You don't do that. So they've done all of this context-wise, and that's why I look at it and I say, even after 7 games, guys, he's got everything perfect for him. When we return and we play Brentford and Fenerbahce, he has to win those 2 games.
100%.
There's none of this drawing anymore. The fact of that was 7 games in the season, guys, and I'm saying that we can't draw a game. That's bad. I can accept a draw if we're maybe like 6th or 7th in the table, guys. A point at Villa's not a bad result, but when we're in the circumstances that we're in, I think that's where we got misconstrued last night, Jarvis, is I can't accept a draw when we're 14th. I'm sorry.
100%.
It's just not acceptable. And other football, Villa would not have accepted a point if they're 14th. And they don't have the aspirations that they can win the league in 5-6 years. They might dream, but they can't do it. They don't have a track record for doing it for like 60 years, guys. Man United have a track record of doing it. We've got the most Premier League titles in the league in all of the trophy cabinet. The history and the record speaks for that.
Yeah.
But the fact of that every single one of the INEOS hierarchy was there, there's far too many competent football people for me that are going to look at this and think, like I broke it down for everybody last night, when they have this meeting tomorrow, Omar Barada said that he didn't have any influence on the decision. So after tomorrow, we're going to know what his opinion is on all of this, because he didn't have an influence, supposedly. Dan Ashworth didn't have an influence on it. Jason Wilcox didn't have an influence on it. Dave Brailsford had an influence on it, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe had an influence on it. And Joe Glazer, pardon my language, guys, didn't give a fuck. He didn't.
Yeah.
Let's face it, he didn't care because there was no context to it. But like I broke it down for everybody on United Real Therapy last night, Joe Glazer is the guy who leads this club. He has the majority shareholding. He just doesn't control the club anymore. But if he wants something done, Sir Jim Ratcliffe has to fall in line and do it. He does not own all of this club. He can get outvoted on because Joe Glazer has more influence over it than him. And if the Glazers still run our club right now, guys, with the way that Ten Hag is going, we all know where this was heading. If you don't get top four, he would have been gone after that FA Cup regardless. They did to LVG 6 years ago, guys. They did this to LVG. So don't think they wouldn't have done it to Eric Ten Hag because he won an FA Cup. They've got a track record for doing it when you don't make top four.
Yeah, but it's different times. There's a different structure now. And the thing is, I just want to say, sacking Ten Hag now based on the latest results, for me, I feel it's more reactionary than thoughtful. It's like doing something just because anything seems better than doing nothing. So like emotional decisions rarely work out. We had a good assessment period after the FA Cup final. By the way, it undermined the Ten Hag by doing that.
Yeah, we agree that.
But INEOS, they didn't make a emotional decision. They waited.
Can I ask you a question?
A good 2, 3, 4 weeks before they made a decision for Ten Hag to stay. And now I would like them to do the same, not sacking him based on emotions because of bad results.
Yeah.
But wait, let's see. Start the process now in how to bring in the new manager, assess other candidates quietly, and let Ten Hag do his job and see how we are in let's say around Christmas. And not only assess Ten Hag's last 10 games before Christmas if you do well and say, okay, assess the whole first part of the season as a whole, and try to see if this is the way going forward. That will be the adult and I would say the mature way to handle the situation, not sack him based on emotions right away now. That will be doing Glazer's job over and over again. And we know they can't run a football club. So I think that's part of the problem now, because we as fans, we have been getting used to this Glazer way of running the club. And we expect the club to act in that way, in the Glazer way. But now there's a different regime at hand. And I think they will probably solve this problem in a different way.
Yeah, but the question, I'll put it to both of you anyway, any of you can answer it. The fact of that this football structure, when they made this decision on Ten Hag, this football structure was not in place. You didn't have Barada in the office. You didn't have Ashworth in the office. You didn't have Wilcox.
Well, not officially, but they have WhatsApp and stuff like that and Zoom. They
Jarvis. But the difference is they can't officially say I had anything to do with it, because City would sue us with Barada, Newcastle would sue us with Dan Ashworth, and Jason Wilcox, Southampton would sue us.
Do you think they had nothing to do with it?
I don't think they had the influence on it, no, Jarvis, because they can't say, they can say in a WhatsApp message, keep Eric Ten Hag. But the fact of that, right, when you're having to do it like that, do you really think that people are going to listen to you contextually? No.
Yeah, well, I understand. It's not the same, but I think they had some part of it.
Okay. But this performance review that was led in the summer was led by one person. You didn't hear Barada led it, along with Sir Dave Brailsford. It was Sir Dave Brailsford's one-man mission. He led this audit on Manchester United. So he, who is Sir Jim Ratcliffe's right-hand man, who, if he said to Jim, jump, Dave would probably say, how high? And Dave would probably jump for him. He's a right-hand guy that he's worked through business with for like 15, 20 years. It's his best mate in business, life, sport, anything. The fact of that, when that guy goes to you with a decision and says, this is the best course of action after we've spoke to XYZ managers and blah, 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 he's then gone to Jim and said, this is the decision that we have to make. You did not hear that Barada had influence on that decision. He's openly come out and said, I had no influence whatsoever. Dan Ashworth said the exact same thing, and they didn't know what each other had said. They did separate interviews at separate times. They didn't know what each other was going to say, but they worded it and said it the exact same. That cannot be a coincidence. I think when they came into this club, the decision was already made, and they just had to fall in line with that decision. Because until they took control, like now, if we sign a sponsorship deal, it has to go through Barada because he's the CEO.
Yep.
He runs the finances. If you want to make a football decision, it has to go through Dan Ashworth. He runs the sporting side of the club, and then he takes sporting decisions to be signed off by Barada in the hierarchy. That's how it works, this football structure. The fact of that, the two most important people in your club said that they had no influence on it whatsoever. Not both of them are going to lie. It's very rare that you have two people who are going to lie about one exact thing.
Well, they have to say it. As you said, they were on the contract.
There you go. They have to say it because they're under contract. And that's what I'm saying. So the question that I'm putting to you guys is, if this was like a normal window and they were already in months in advance, let's say they were in when INEOS first came in, they brought them in straight away. And they had that time, they had the input now, like they've had time now to assess things, guys, and they have to make a decision now whether they want to stick or twist. If they would have been in place in the summer, these proper footballing brains and people, and they didn't bring Ten Hag in. This isn't their guy, just as much as it isn't INEOS's guy. Do we think that their decision might have influenced a different decision to what was made? Because they have proper football qualification to say, this is where it's going wrong. Whereas Dave, as we know, is a cyclist guy, and Jim Ratcliffe is a businessman.
It's a good question, Tom.
They're not football. They're not
what we are talking about now will be just utter and pure speculations, because none of us know how, because we haven't seen them in work. We only have references from Man City, and we know Man City, they are not sacking a lot of managers, at least not under Barada. He's a longevity guy, but it's easy when you have Pep. And when you go with Dan Ashworth, he kept Eddie Howe in the job at Newcastle. Even him been under some scrutiny, not performing at the level Newcastle would like.
But that was his guy, though, Jarvis. But when he got there, he picked Eddie Howe.
That's the history. So the rest will be just pure speculation. I don't know. Dan Ashworth, when he was Brighton, he kept his managers, didn't he? He didn't sack anyone.
When he was at Brighton, they ended up bringing. He was the one who brought in Graham Potter at the time, and then that relationship sort of blossomed from there. They got rid of Chris Hughton, who was firstly there. They only just survived relegation, and then they appointed Graham Potter, who was at Swansea, and he nearly got promoted to the Premier League with them. That's sort of how that worked. But wherever Dan Ashworth has gone, when he's been at Newcastle, he brought in his own guy to work alongside him. Whether he was at Brighton, he brought in his own guy. And when he was at the FA, he made recommendations to say that we need to go somewhere else in a different direction. Barada, when he was at City, I think people sometimes forget this, he wasn't the main guy at City. There's four of them. Soriano, Tixi Bergenstein, Khalidun Mubarak, and you have Omar Barada. Four of them have to agree on a decision to pass something through that club. It takes one person. Omar Barada's one person in a big board of people now at Manchester United. None of them appointed Erik Ten Hag. They've inherited him, just like they've inherited the rest of the mess at this club. And the thing that I'm trying to get across to everybody is they've changed everything. They've handed out P45s like you wouldn't believe. They've cut the staff bill down by they've sacked like 15,000 people out of jobs at this club already worldwide. Whether it's you work in admin or you work at the groundsman staff, whatever. They've made cuts across the club, a third of the cuts. They've sacked a lot of people. They've sacked the hierarchy of this club that they inherited. Like Richard Arnold didn't even last a week, guys, and he was gone. See you later, not fit for purpose. John Mato was the same thing. So what I'm trying to get across to you guys is they've replaced everything around Erik Ten Hag, which people see that as that can only benefit him. But as soon as it goes wrong, don't think for a second they're not just going to reactionarily replace him. Is what I'm trying to get across to you, because they will. If he didn't win that FA Cup, guys, be honest, right? He hasn't got a leg to stand on to say that he deserves a third year. He doesn't.
That's precisely the point that I'm trying to say, that like, because everything else around Ten Hag has been replaced, all these variables, moving parts around him, and Ten Hag is the one constant. They have to see how he does around, like, as these parts start to line up, as these
with the
parts
proper structure.
how to
Yeah.
work together, you know. So that's the
Hmm.
thing, that like it feels a little bit of a knee-jerk approach to just say, get rid of him as well, you know, when he's the person that is actually being entrusted to be the captain of the ship, to be the manager of Manchester United. So for me, and to answer your speculative question,
Mm.
I almost feel like those guys in there earlier would have actually helped us to be more ruthless and more efficient in our transfer approach, and that would have probably long on the ultimately benefited Ten Hag more. Would have had our players a lot sooner. We would have had, like, Manuel Ugarte would have had a longer time to integrate. By the way, just
Hmm.
for the record, that's another decision that I failed to struggle to understand with Eric Ten Hag. His treatment of Ugarte. You know, how Ugarte doesn't play versus Porto versus Villa, not even a few minutes. It's still,
Mhm.
it's a head scratcher. But
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me,
yeah.
it's not enough for me to say no. Just get him out. He doesn't know what he's doing. With the question that with the one of the points that you raised earlier on, saying, yeah, he brought all these players, or he rather, these players were bought under Ten Hag with the transfer veto
Yeah,
power.
yeah.
Anthony, whatever, 85 mil. Martinez, 60 mil.
Casemiro, yeah.
Delict, Casemiro, Xerxes, Ugarte. He could have vetoed all these guys, right?
Hmm.
But those guys were not on the starting lineup at versus Aston Villa. Why?
Yeah.
Okay, I said the Ugarte one frustrates me. Let's isolate that one to the side.
Hmm.
Everybody else, we know Anthony hasn't been in good form, and Amad Diallo has been our better winger. That's why Anthony has not featured as much. Martinez and Delict, those are the two center backs that let him down versus Porto. So what does he do? He has to find another pair to sort of just show everybody that you have to work to be in the starting lineup. So he's trying to assert his voice as a disciplinarian to say, listen, if you don't do the job, if you are shit, I'm sorry, you have to sit on the bench. And that is why he had to bring in
Mm.
the fifth and sixth choice center back when everybody is fit. That is Maguire and Evans, right?
Do you think
So
he did that, or do you think he just did that as like
I
a
think it
damage
was a
limitation?
twofold decision. It was one to punish Delict and Martinez, and
Okay.
also it could have also been a tactical decision because I did not see Aston Villa troubling us aerially. So having those two guys, like, it's a twofold decision in my opinion, and I could be wrong.
Hmm.
While just speculating at this point. So, but one thing that you said that resonated with me earlier on was that at this very moment in time, settling for a draw versus Aston Villa, when we're not at the business end of the league where it's like, oh, do we go for it versus Villa, or do we go for it in the semi-final of the Europa League?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you know, we're not at that point. We should be going for it. We should be aggressive offensively. But both managers opted to say, you know what, let's do the defense part, and then we'll get a set piece, and then maybe the set piece will be a goal. And that's
Hmm.
the type of approach that Unai Emery and Ten Hag went with, you know. So I'm not saying, even though I'm backing him, I'm not. I want to make sure you know, Tom, and everybody in the chat, that I am not happy with some of these decisions, but we have to try and understand why. Why is he benching Martinez and Delict? And some of those things can bring a little bit of clarity to the context, to fully
Yeah,
understand the context. You
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. But if the only thing that I'm saying, guys, is if you're gonna get rid of the guy, and I think you'll agree, I think both of you will agree on this.
Yeah.
If you're gonna get rid of him and you're gonna move on and try something new, it's better to do it now while you have 2 weeks where you can plan, you can find somebody, you can maybe even appoint somebody after that 2 weeks, guys. It doesn't take months to hire a coach. It might take a week to find one that you
but
want.
it will affect us for
a couple
at
of
least
days to
2 to 3 years if we only make 2 weeks. We should make more time, as I said. Don't
No, but
make
every club,
emotional
yeah,
decisions.
Jarvis,
They rarely work out.
Every club has a contingency plan. If the manager gets sacked, they get bought out and go to a new club, or God forbid they pass away when they're in operation. Every club has that safety net plan. Brighton had to use it when Potter got taken off them. He got taken off them around about a similar point now when Chelsea kept Tuchel. They sacked Tuchel after he lost the game to Dynamo Zagreb 1-0 in the Champions League. They got rid of him. 5 days later, Graham Potter walked through that door as a new coach. Brighton, they didn't go through months and months of analytics. They just looked at their safety net list and said, these are the guys that we can appoint. God forbid Graham Potter has to move on or we get rid of him or whatever. And De Zerbi was the guy that they wanted. They went and got him from the Ukrainian league. The difference with us is, if we get rid of Ten Hag, I don't think INEOS are going to be that stupid because they had a list of people that they spoke to, they targeted in the summer. I think one of those guys that they had on their summer list will still be at the top of their list right now if they made a move on Ten Hag, and that's Thomas Tuchel. Whether he comes or not, I don't know. Listen, it's up for speculation or debate. I've got my own opinions on who I'd prefer and whatnot. But at the end of the day, if they're going to get rid of him, they're better off doing it now while they have it gives them their own time to then make a change and do something different. Whereas if they let him limp on and he gets to, let's say he gets to Brentford and he loses the game, if he gets to Fenerbahce, he draws or he loses. Let's just say if he doesn't win the first 2 games after the return, are you still going to be sitting here and defending the guy and say he needs the rest of the season? Because for me, if I'm in your guys' position, he has to win those next 2 games to stand any chance. Because if he doesn't, everybody's going to turn around and say, well, we've just had an international break. You could have bought yourself some time, INEOS. But instead now then you just have to rush everything. And I don't think INEOS are guys that like to rush things. I think they'll make a decision, but then I think then they'll move on with it and then they'll just sort of, they know the plan, they know the drill. They've sacked managers at Nice and Lausanne before, so they know how to do it. It's just effectively a case of they can pay Ten Hag off. They don't even need to sack the guy in person. Phone call, see you later, mate. Well, why you cash over? That's it. You don't come back. You pass key when you come back. When you come back to Carrington, mate. When you put
text through WhatsApp.
when you put the code in, mate, you're not coming back. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But it can happen. I've seen it be done at football because when they get rid of managers over international breaks. The thing that I'm saying, guys, is there's a perfect time. If you're going to do it now. If they don't do it after this, guys, fine, I'll be in the same boat as you guys. You might as well keep until the end of the season and let this club die a slow death. And if it gets worse and worse and worse and we get to the end of the summer, okay, then he'll be gone. We already know this. But I don't want us to go through this process where I've seen this club waste seasons on caretaker managers or interims. If you don't like the direction of a club's going in, get rid of the manager. It's as simple as that. And go off in a new direction. Liverpool nearly won a league with Brendan Rodgers. The year after, they invested in the guy. It got to around October time. An international break came. They got rid of the guy. 2 weeks later, Jurgen Klopp rolled in. And the rest is history ever since then. That's all that I'm going to say to people. Things can get better. And that's why I think that when people say that they want to back Ten Hag till the end of the season, I just think it's that you're scared of what's going to come after him. And the only thing that I'm going to say is managers come and go every single time. You're not going to get a manager that's going to stay 10 years. So Ten Hag, even if he's a success of this club, guys, it's not going to be here forever. You don't get Fergie's. They're not made like Fergie and Wenger anymore. That's all that I'm trying to get across. So for me, the process of football, INEOS, if they get rid of Ten Hag and they appoint another guy, that's when I won't have so much damaging in terms of I'll go towards fans and say this isn't INEOS's guy, because I can't defend INEOS in that case, and I'm not defending them now because I think they bottled it in the summer because they wanted rid of the guy. If he didn't win the FA Cup, that's just my opinion. I don't think he would have been there. But the process that they've gone through now, they've got a list.
That's the issue. He did win the FA Cup, and I think a lot of, we haven't won the FA Cup since Louis van Gaal. That's a couple of years ago. I don't know if you remember, but for me, that's a lot of years ago. And
Yeah, but
you know,
that's
we're
the
not
thing.
used to winning.
Yeah, we're not
And
used to winning,
he could actually
Jarvis.
do
But
this. He could achieve this. We have had other manager Mourinho. He couldn't win the FA Cup. He lost the final against Chelsea. Oli, he came to the semi-final, close but no cigar. You know, and we have been
And this
almost,
two
and
FA
then
Cup finals in 2 years, right?
yeah.
but that's where he
You know,
gets the
it's not a fluke. You know, and he won the League Cup, so people
no, he
see
gets
it
the
as a
label
habit of
though,
Ten Hag
Jarvis.
winning.
Yeah,
So for me, that's
he gets the label of being a cup manager based upon what you've just said because he goes deep into cup. Last season, if we're facing facts, toward the end of the season when top four was done, do we honestly think that he's going to care too much about what happens in the league? No. He even got to the final game, and he just rested majority of his squad for that final, and then prepared predominantly for that final because that was his like final showdown.
yeah.
If he wins
Yeah.
the game, there's a chance he can stay. If he doesn't, I think from the briefings that come out, guys, he's probably gone. That's the way that it was portrayed anyway. The only thing that we're moving on with this is when they go forward, INEOS, if they get rid of Ten Hag and they bring in a new guy, that's when I will sit here and I will say, okay, can I see some in 2 or 3 years with this guy? Probably because the manager that they're going to hire is a longevity guy. Because they want a project, they want something that players are going to buy on board with. The thing that I'm looking at with Ten Hag is he's already been here 3 years, and I don't think we're any closer to winning the league title than we were when he
Technically,
actually
he's been there
first came
2
in.
years, and he's in his third
He's
season.
in his 3rd year, Jarvis. But if we're going to face facts, if it keeps going this way, he's not going to last the 3 years anyway.
That's
not.
true. That's true. It's true.
So that's all I'm trying to get across to you. But
Yeah,
go on anyway.
Yeah, we have the result of the poll Mick made. He said the poll result. Do you think Ten Hag should be given time to the end of the season? Yes or no? So out of the 82 people, no, 59 votes. So 52% wants Ten Hag to stay and 47% want Ten Hag to go right away. So you know the fan base
Happy,
is
get off the
almost
burner accounts, mate. Get off the burner accounts.
split in two. It's split in two.
I'm only joking.
But I've seen other results on other accounts and other channels. Some of them are 80-20, some of them are 50-50, some of them are 60-40. But we know it's emotional, so
that's as close to 50-50 as you can get, though, guys.
Yeah.
It's only like 2 or 3%.
Actually, really surprising results. I'm astonished by how close the poll is right now.
I just want to say big up to Craig Warby. Craig is in the house. Big up, pal. Yeah, and I just want to move on a little bit because we have been talking about this Ten Hag thing for an hour now and 7 minutes.
No way.
Yeah, time flies when we have a good discussion. So brilliant, guys, and I think we covered most of it, and we had an adult discussion because you know, as I said in the beginning, it's not about Ten Hag in or out or divide the fan base. We're all Man United fans, and we all want the best for our club. We just want to go back to winning, either with Ten Hag or without Ten Hag. So that's a good. Let's just take a few of the comments of what people have said because there have been so many interesting comments while you guys have been talking. UK Strain say he deserves to see out the season, no matter where we finish. He deserves to see how bad his team has become. Okay. Jale Malmin, he said we talked about what's the point when you realize Ten Hag is not it. He said the draw to Copenhagen last season, we had our worst Champions League run ever. That was when I was done with Erik Ten Hag. Then we finished 8th. I gave him a chance and now he is worse. So Jale, my fellow Norwegian, is not happy with Ten Hag. We have Johnny Kermode in the house. Big up, Johnny. He say it's now at the point where I would like him to stay and turn it around, but I don't think he can. The issue is, and the club probably think this, is there anyone who can turn this around long term? And that's a good question. Who will the next manager be? Will we find the right candidate at the current moment? Delta Faye comes in and say Erik Ten Hag is clearly not for us, but neither are the likes of Cashford and Luke Signot Shaw. Okay, having a dig at Rashford and Luke Shaw there. Jonathan Borg is very clear, sack him now. or at the end of the season change nothing. Maybe no more humiliations. So Jonathan Borg, he's not happy with Ten Hag. So that's it. I see we have a couple of questions coming in with the queue. We will address them at the Q&A session later. And I just want to say hi to my good old pal Stu Woolley. He say, hi lads, apologize, I can't be with you. Big up and hugs all. Big up, Stu. Thank you for watching. I hope everything is well. Yeah, so the next stage of the show, I think we will just cover quick a little bit about the match. We addressed it a little. We talked a little bit about it, but I'm interested in hearing Poppy's take on the match, like from a, we're not gonna address Ten Hag's choices, but the players. How did the players do, and were you happy with the selection and the end result?
Selection, I saw that and I was like, WTF? And then I tried to understand it a little bit and say, oh, okay, this is what happened. The two center backs, because of what happened versus Porto. Of course, I wouldn't have liked to see Maguire in there. And Johnny Evans, really, he's just a great lad that is there as a backup. And this is a moment when a backup had to step up. And guess what? He did. He more than just stepped up. So I was happy with the offensive part of the team, the selection. I was like, okay, this is looking promising. But when we got to the match, I had this conversation with Mick, and it was like this. It was giving cup final vibes of like, I don't want to be the first one to make a mistake. You don't want to be the first one to make a mistake. And guess what? We got to 90 minutes and nobody made a mistake. It was a who's going to blink first type of match. And both managers really surprised me by going for that approach. And I would have thought Aston Villa at home, they would really feel the crowd behind them and go for it and really give us trouble. And I saw some of the Aston Villa attacks just break down. And I think part of it is in two ways. Some of them attacks were not really like of high quality, but also our defensive organization was actually of very good quality. So I have to applaud our team. Our defensive display was really good, but the offensive display was a letdown. So in isolation, a point at Villa Park is a good thing to take. A point at Aston Villa, considering the fact that they are a team that are in the Champions League right now, and we're not. Last season, they finished considerably higher than us. They were looking a lot better than us. Of course, we beat them home and away, if I remember correctly. But the point is, we did not lose, and the manager set up to not lose, and that's the part that disappoints me. But when we're talking about the individual player performances, I was really happy with the fact that Johnny Evans was such a stellar, solid, reliable presence at the back. He played with almost one leg. Maguire was also good. Mazraoui continued to be, decent as well. Andre Onana was alert the moment when Yuri Tielemans tested him. Actually, that shot on target, when you look at it, it actually came from a corner kick. And it was right after another corner kick that Aston Villa had won. And they actually could not get a shot on target through open play. And if you're not impressed by that defensive display, just looking at just the defense, then I don't know. It's going to be very hard to impress you, because last season we spent majority saying we are facing too many shots. Andre Onana he's on OnlyFans the way he gets the shot. Yeah, there was the donut formation. We talked about it so much, and that donut has been fixed. It has some cream filling now, and that is something to commend. And we started off the season, Tom, I know, clean your mind. We started off the season really, really good. And part of what Tom mentioned in his earlier point was that Christian Eriksen shouldn't be in that lineup. And let's not forget what happened. Mason Mount was actually an integral part of how we were pressing and how we were organized off the ball, and his injury has had an impact and opened the door for Christian Eriksen. So at the end of the day, I wanted us to win versus Aston Villa. I think we could have done a lot more offensively, and that was really, really let down by our offensive output. But I understand that an offensive team, like, for it to click, you have to have telepathic understanding of where everybody's going to be, of what the movements are. When I'm in this zone, Tom, you have to be making the run in behind. When I'm in this zone, Jarvis, you have to be coming short. All those things, that chemistry comes with playing together, repetition and repetition and repetition. So I understand that we're not at that place yet. So
you get a quick question from Bauman if you want to answer. Pop, do you think Bruno's terrible display robbed us the result?
So Bruno's display was terrible in the sense that he had 0 chances created, and as a chief chance creator of the team, that is not looking good, bruv. So I don't want to say it robbed us of a result, because he also hit the crossbar with a free kick, and had that free kick just was like inches lower, then it would have been a totally different rhetoric about Bruno. So I feel like his performance was very bad, but I wouldn't label it as a performance that robbed us a result.
Mm-hmm.
He was very economical with the ball. He didn't do a lot of Hollywood. Bruno was not playing at Villa Park, I can tell you that.
No, he was sent off in Portugal.
He was sent off in Portugal. Yeah, something also is going on with him psychologically with these 2 red cards that are in a row, and also maybe the fact that maybe we've heard of this phenomenon before, post new contract slump. That's a thing. It happens to a lot of players. Mo Salah's been through it. All the players, any human goes through it. And it's by no coincidence that you have to scratch your head to think, when was the last time Bruno scored? I think it's been probably over 14 games or something like that, league games, where Bruno scored for Man United, which is it's really bad. It's really bad. He's in his worst moment in a Manchester United shirt right now.
Yes. Tom, are you here or are you on the phone? See, you are on mute. Okay, Tom is not here. From a tactical point of view, there's not much to say. We set up in a old-fashioned 4-4-2, 2 blocks of 4 and 2 strikers working together, trying to press Villa's build-up play. And I would say we looked solid. What's worth to notice is the wingers, how they tuck in. We play compact. You see the wingers, they are not on the line. They're in connection with the 2 central midfielders, and that's how you play a 4-4-2. So in a way, I think there was nothing much, but again, we showed discipline. We showed good, strong, tight organization, organized team, and I think that's a way to go forward, especially when we play away against stronger teams. I think we should do more of this. And we have said that there's no discipline in these players. They can't be taught anything, but they know how to do this. It's not that hard, but they did it. So kudos to them. From a tactical point of view, there was some things I saw. I can address them while we wait for Tom.
Yeah.
This is the tactical board. I know you don't like it. It's too boring. But when we played out.
Oh, you're talking to somebody else that doesn't like it. I like it.
Well, we pushed up Dalot and Masraoui. We didn't invert as we have seen before. This area here, we have seen when we play out with the 3 in the back, we have Masraoui as left center back, Maguire and Evans this time. It would be natural if we had played the way we had done so far this season to invert Dalot into this area. With Mainu, and then Eriksen would have drifted into this left channel here to get some space and try to create some play. We didn't do this against Aston Villa. No, we were always in balance. So our fullbacks just went a little bit higher every time. So it wasn't very difficult, and we played out. We just split our center backs, and Onana was the third player, so we tried to play out this way. But we didn't take any chances because it was easy for Aston Villa every time. Let's say Evans got the ball, he was pressed, he had to pass it back to Onana, and the same with Maguire. So Onana was basically forced to play it a lot of times just long. We tried it long. So I don't know if it's very revolutionary from Ten Hag, but it's safe in a way, so I can accept it. Another thing we did was when we tried to play out with the back three, we usually see someone inverting and dropping down, but we didn't do it this time. Dalot was pushing high left. Rashford was playing in the number 10 role, I would say. Same with Eriksen. He was in the 10, and Højlund was on top, and Bruno was the one dropping down into the middle. So it was more like we were playing out more like this. You see Garnacho and Dalot on each wing, and we had a back three when we tried to build up with the back three. It wasn't very effective. We had sometimes, but what I saw in the build-up play, when we did play, we didn't play flat with these two guys or these two guys. We played it more in what do you call it? We were more like this, I would say. So one higher up and one lower down. So when we played, we used the layoff pass, the bounce pass, up, down, and then we played it through. So in a way, we didn't take many chances trying to turn with the ball under pressure. So that meant that we didn't lose the ball many times either. Only time we lost the ball was actually Garnacho. He lost the ball 7 times. And I would say Mainu, I think Mainu lost it 3 times, but Mainu, he's a dribbler. He tries stuff, and he's very effective in his dribbling and never gets dangerous because he's never really put out of play when he loses the ball, because he have good balance and he knows how to use his body on the player and shield the ball. So in a way, I would say we played it safe, but I like more of this. I would like to see more of this when we play football, and this is how I would like to see. If you see, for example, the Serbis Brighton, they never turn with the ball with pressure, under pressure. They always play the layoff pass or the bounce pass. So that's how you effectively move the ball around, up and down, and then through. So it's not rocket science. And if Ten Hag insists to start playing this way, not only thinking shape, but thinking patterns and how we have a connection play and how we do it. So I think this is probably a way forward.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I really like the fact that the bounce pass allows you to give the ball to a player who has already looked at the picture ahead, and when they're progressing the ball, they're ideally picking the best option, looking at where the teammates are, and part of what was really good, as you pointed out, was that the fact that we're not inverting as much. And I also want to say, like, Leon Bailey is a dangerous player. Like, he's pacey, he's quick, and Dalot did a good job for the most part to just keep him quiet until he got subbed off, And I think actually it was the other player that I can remember his name right now.
Rogers.
Yeah, no, it was Philogen or something like that.
Jaden was
Jaden Philogen. Like, I think he swapped positions and was on the right, and Dalot actually it was this ball that, like, De Ligt, it was a pass from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, and De Ligt tried to stop it, but he kind of slipped, and Dalot was already tucking in, and Jaden Philogen, he had that chance to shoot, and then Dalot left the guy that he was marking. It might have been Rogers at that moment, or Watkins, and then he ran to go block the shot, and he fortunately blocked it with his back. And that was one moment where I was just like, this was a moment where they were waiting for us to make that mistake,
Yeah,
and it didn't. Fortunately, Dallo was able to make amends, and it was really more actually a delayed error that like had to have Dallo sort of like tuck in and then sort of cover two players at once. But
mm,
one thing that I wanted to say was that like us not being so not overloading the middle allowed the bounce pass to happen easily
yeah.
on just
You
our
create more
rest.
space.
Yeah, we created more space, and this
Mm,
is something that Ten Hag has to continue doing. Like if we want to keep building something, building a pattern, use this game as a blueprint and continue with that, because what's going to be frustrating is when we play Brentford, he just like it's like we start afresh again and no lessons have been learned. That's the part that is going to be very, very frustrating for me if Ten Hag does that.
yeah, but yeah, the thing you mentioned Brentford, that will be an interesting game. We'll probably have more shows covering that game when it's time. But Brentford, Thomas Frank is more of a pragmatic manager. He's more of a counter attacking manager. I believe when we play Brentford, they will sit a little bit more back and just
Mhm.
wait us out. So like build up play and stuff like that will be easy for us because they will just have a couple of people running around like lightly pressing us and blocking off some passing lanes, but allowing us, for example, to play around on the wide side. Or yeah, I will probably say they will allow us to play on the outside and not in the central areas. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it will be interesting to see. But our attacking play is the worst we have seen in a long time. We don't seem to know how to score goals at the moment. We have Hoylund, we have Xerxes as our two main strikers. There's not many goals there. I feel they maybe at best have 10 to 12 goals in them. Uh, and we have Rashford. Rashford, he looks a little bit dangerous, but he's on and off, so it's hard to say with Rashford. We have Garnacho, we have Diallo, but none of them is really at a high consistent level. They do good things sometimes, but sometimes they're just invisible. So where are the goals coming from? Is it Bruno, Ericsson? Who's going to score the goals?
Bruno and scoring right now don't belong in the same sentence, unfortunately. I think the onus falls on our wingers. Say, for example, if Ahmad gets a chance again, he'll hopefully continue what he has started during preseason, because he was like in sizzling goal scoring form during preseason. I hope Ten Hag picks Ahmad Diallo, because honestly, he was really like somebody that started off preseason really well, started off the first couple of games of the season well, and I think he deserves to continue trying to build patterns. We've been talking about how football is just like a game of like partnerships and patterns. You need to be able to synchronize with the people that are on the same side as you on the pitch. So I want to see that continuing. I want to see also. It's funny because Rashford, I feel like he has turned a corner. He's getting, like he's not the Rashford that can be razor sharp, but he is trying his best, and you can see it. He versus Porto, he gave like the Porto defense something to think about, and every time he cuts in, like there's a little bit of like, oh, okay, what is he gonna do? What is he gonna do? So I really feel like we have to be optimistic. We have to be positive. We have to have a positive outlook towards like what some of the right combination of attackers can do. One thing that Ten Hag hasn't tried yet is Xerxes, Hoyland, and Bruno. That combination. I'm curious what that would bring.
Yeah,
Because there's
yeah, we
some
haven't seen Xerxes and Hoylund playing together in a way. Yeah, that's a good point.
there's something that special that could come out of that. I feel like Xerxes and Hoyland could complement each other if they worked. If we try to employ a two second striker, two striker formation, that could serve us well and actually give us the rejuvenation that we desperately need in our attack.
What I feel has been lacking this season, and I would say the last couple of seasons, is the combination play. We haven't seen good combination play since I would say Martial was a trigger for good combination play, always quick passes, quick movement. But we haven't seen, we don't have the plays. We have Rashford, for example, or Garnacho, when they receive the ball, head down, run with it, try to dribble. You don't set up your fullback, you don't set up your striker, you don't set up your number 10 in a way, pass and move, combination play on the inside, on the outside channel. So in a way, I would hope that Ten Hag and Van Nistelrooy would work more on this and try to explore more of that area for us to score goals, because I think we have a lot to gain on doing this. Because you see sometimes when I could just bring up the tactical board again. It's easier for me to explain. When let's say if the winger gets the ball, it's always try to challenge the fullback. That's the main objective always. It's it's not about, for example, bringing the ball inside, waiting for the overlap. It's not about bringing the number 6 into play and doing the overlap yourself or underlap. It's almost always about creating it for yourself, so you don't play as a team when you attack. You don't have combination play or patterns that you can rely on consistently. The only pattern I've seen so far is the switch of play. This season has been better when we switch to the other side, but then again we do the same. We try to set up 1 against 1 and for the winger to go past his man. So again, it's not much of a plan. It's some kind of plan, but I would like more intricate play, and maybe we will see that if we have better players, more games, more time to train on this combinations. But I haven't seen much yet, and this is what I would like to see. Do you agree, Tom?
No, I think we need to see more combinational play rather than just gun-ho playing. The only thing that I'm going to say, when you've just said there about, like, when you pointed more towards Rashford anyway on that side, I know you meant for both players, but
yeah,
the one thing that I've seen a lot from Ten Hag with not just Rashford, but even with Ahmad and stuff, he doesn't want his players to run at people out wide. He doesn't want them to take the ball to the byline and swing crosses in. I don't know why, but the one thing that we always said with Rashford, the Liverpool game was terrible for it, if I'm being completely honest with you. It was always recycle the ball. You're up against Trent. You know when he runs back to his own goal, he's terrible. He's there to be got at. Why you don't let the guy have the freedom to just run at people? The one bonus that we gave Rashford in that first season with him, where he had that brilliant season, Ten Hag didn't really put much pressure on him to say you have to keep the ball well or shield the ball. It was just get the ball, do it 5 yards in front of you, head down, Usain Bolt, and try and get as far to the goal as you can. If you get into the box, take a shot. That was pretty much how we used Marcus Rashford to his best of his abilities. He's not one of these players that can keep possession well, guys. To be fair, he doesn't even really buy fouls very often. Players that they're very neaty with him, they'll just barge him off the ball, or he doesn't win fouls. He's not great at keeping the ball. Recycling the ball is not his kind of style. It is gun-ho, where the space in behind, that's where Marcus Rashford's going to be effective. From what I've seen anyway, especially up to that Liverpool game, Rashford was listening to what Ten Hag's saying. That has to be tactical. It can't be that it's individualizing, that he's willingly wanting to recycle the ball. Footballers, especially wingers, it's about running at people and expressing yourself and dribbling. That's what you want from wide players, not this recycle the ball. And that's for midfielders, guys. That's for fullbacks, defenders. Keep the ball nitty-gritty. The only way you're ever going to break an opposition backline, guys, is you need somebody at the front to take a risk, to take a gamble. Rashford's that player. And the thing that I'm going to give him credit for, guys, is Porto, and especially with Villa, from what I've seen, yeah, he might not score week in, week out, but he's running at players. He's doing what he's best at. That is all that is to his game. I can't ask for more than what he's got. He's a very one-dimensional player. Hit the ball 5 yards, run, take somebody on, put it in the top corner. That is Marcus Rashford's game. He's not going to be swing 50 crosses in the box for a striker. He wants to be that match winner. He's a match-winning player. He's not a creative player. And that's why I think, for me, when I look at Rashford in particular, when Ten Hag's hacking him off against Porto, and you're not really understanding why when he's our best threat in the game. Those Porto players were panicking against him, guys. They were. When he runs at you. He's one of the most deadly players when he runs at you. And for me, I can't understand. It's one of those decisions that Papa was saying before where he said about with he couldn't understand why Ugarte's not really been used in the last 2 games and why Ahmad's sort of fizzled out of this squad all of a sudden now. It's another one of those questions with Ten Hag where you have to say, why are you taking our deadliest threat player up front off when you're in a game where we're not scoring goals? And even to that point, guys, yeah, you can score 3 goals against Porto. 2 of them were goalkeeping errors, and the third one was, okay, fair enough, it was a set piece. Harry Maguire, the tallest Man United player on the pitch at that time, didn't have a player around him. That's a failure of Porto's defensive thing. That's not anything genius. It's not like he ran off of 3 players.
It's a set piece. A set piece is a set piece.
It's a standard set piece.
Yeah.
It's a standard set piece, and they've made a mistake with zonal marking. It happens. That's why I don't believe in zonal marking. It's man for man or nothing for me when it comes to set pieces. But especially when we look at it tactically, guys, he relies on the spaces that are in behind. And Garnacho, to be fair to him, is quite similar, where you need the space in behind to run.
Yeah, comment from
Craig Warby here relies on space in the back, kick and run footballers. That's it. He's awful. He's awful at the other parts of the game that Ten Hag wants him to work with. And that's why I've said this. Rashford can never work in a system. He is an individualized superstar player. Yeah. He's a match winner. He's not one of these players that's going to be, passing the ball around and he's going to be so intricate in the game.
But the funny thing is, you see Sterling, for example, on the Pep, and players like him on the Pep.
Yeah.
He can get them to work. So this is.
But the difference with Rashford is, Jarvis, Rashford can do nothing for like 20 minutes and then he just clicks on for 2 minutes and he'll do something special. He's a moments player. That's what I always say with Rashford. He's not one of these players, guys. We don't always say this with Rashford where he's had a perfect... I can't remember the last time I ever said Rashford he's been world-class or brilliant for 90 minutes. It's always been he's had a worldy moment. He's took 5 players on. He's put the ball in the back of the net. He's scored a worldy free kick like he did a couple of years ago under Ollie at Stamford Bridge. It was a moment in the game. It was a phase of play where he's had a massive impact. It's not been that he's been brilliant for 90 minutes. That's what we always come across with saying with Rashford. And whenever he wins the man of the match, guys, it's not because he's been superb or brilliant for 90 minutes. It's probably because he scored a couple of goals or he's had a big input or say it's a last minute goal or something. That's what we define Rashford by. And that's why, for me, guys, I've always said this. And it's not just Rashford, because I think Bruno's slowly but surely falling into this same category now where he's working within a system with technical players around him like Eriksen, and they're showing him up for the basics and the fundamentals. Because Eriksen, guys, I saw him put in that 10 for the second goal when Rashford, I think it was for the first goal, when Rashford run at the player. Eriksen, perfect way to the pass, perfect direction, everything. Honestly, it was perfect. Mode of transport, directness. And I've always said this, to be at a number 10, you don't have to be a pressing machine. You don't have to have legs to play number 10 because the ball moves quicker than you move. And that's for any quick player who plays in football. When you have the ball, it does the running for you. That's 100%. No phrase in football. And that's why Eriksen, for me, if you want to play what Ten Hag said, this balanced, disciplined control of football, Eriksen is perfect for it. He is the best number 10 that we have to do that, if you want to do that. If you want to play this pressing style that you wanted to do, Mason Mount's the guy that has to play at number 10, because that's what he'd been best at for Chelsea. That's what we bought him for. He's a press machine. He's a workhorse. Fernandes, again, he's fallen into the same category of what I said with Rashford. If he doesn't score or creates an assist in the game, do we really talk about him that much? That's what I'm saying. And this is where I'm saying, guys, I'm not wanting to individualize players, but when you break their games down, to the bare bones of it, they miss out on a lot of criteria of what you need to fit into a style. And I don't look at Fernandes and think he's a team player. I don't look at Rashford and think he's a team player. They are both superstars in their own right. But when they're in a bad patch of form like both of them are in right now, where the goals are drying up, the assists are drying up, and the pressure's on both of them, because they are senior members within this squad, they are key players within this squad. When the going's getting tough, guys, something's got to give. And that's where I think tactically with Ten Hag, what you said, Pappy, before about when he made all these changes and he had £300 million worth of players on the bench, I was very shocked out of all of that Bruno Fernandes wasn't one of those players that was on that bench. I was very shocked.
Yeah.
Given the context of that he had 2 red cards consistently, fair enough, one of them's overturned, but it's psychologically in his head, he's been sent off.
Yeah.
Forget an appeal and he's in a suit and he's in a courtroom and he's got away with it. Put that to one side. He's been sent off. That's what's in his head. Not, oh, fine, Omar's got us out of jail and he's gone to the FA and it's been overturned. The basics of it is we just need to look at this team and say, who is going to be systemised players for him? And all I'm going to say is throughout the whole time that Ten Hag has been here, I just believe that if he would have slowly but surely depicted Fernandes out of this team, maybe if he didn't give him the captaincy, he might have been able to do it. And slowly but surely, he might have sold him on. You might have got a better deal for him somewhere else. He might have gone to Saudi, PSG. Listen, PSG have just lost Mbappe. Marcus Rashford's the player that they, like for like, think he's the most similaristic to, is Marcus Rashford. That's the player that they would spend money on to go and get guys. So, for me, I would rather have a team of 11 players that are system players than have 10 players who are system players and one who's an individualised player. Sure. It takes one missing part of a puzzle or a cog and the whole machine stops working. And that's why I think, for me,
Tom.
if you took Fernandes out of the team, guys, I've seen the effective work that Eriksen can do. And he's finished, guys. That's what people tell me about this. The guy's on life support. That's how bad this is. I know we shouldn't really joke about it, but the guy, he broke down on a football pitch and he's outshining somebody who's one of our superstars in his own position.
It's because football is played with your brain and not with your
correctly.
feet.
It's not played with legs, Jarvis. And the only thing that Fernandes has over Eriksen is legs. He doesn't have experience because Eriksen's more experienced than him. He doesn't have the stature and the pedigree that Eriksen's done because Eriksen's played at big football clubs for like 10 years. Fernandes, the only club he's ever played on a big level is when he came to Man United, and he's been here 5 years. Eriksen's been in that system with big clubs like Spurs, Inter. You went back over to Ajax for a spelling period. Then you got to Manchester United. So he's been around that big mentality, big club sort of phase his whole career. Fernandes has only recently just had this, and that's why for me, when the going got tough, guys, with Eriksen, he made a comment after the FC20 game, and it was really damning on the whole squad and the whole team, that FC20 wanted it more than we did as a squad. That's alarming, and he's one of the most experienced players. If you're a young player in that squad, guys, he's one of the guys that you go to for advice on things or whatever. He is. He's a character. He's an inspiration. Like I said, he broke down on a football pitch. He's an inspiration for a player who, do you know what? He could have died on a football pitch, but he kept going. He still wants to play this game because he loves it. He's an inspiration to what should be in that dressing room. And when Christian Eriksen says something, I listen, because he is one of those players that he speaks a lot of sense, guys, but he doesn't speak very often. But when he does, he's speaking for a reason. And that's why I just look at that and I think, well, we can characterise it on players and performance, but if we're basing it on performance, he's our best player this season. And
Tom, we have a guest coming in, Elite Baller, want to join us for the last 20 minutes. I just want to say hi to Elite Baller, big up, and talking about combination play and Rashford and why we don't cross, because you mentioned a lot of things. I just want to show you, because of copyright stuff, and I can show you one. So pay attention, everybody. There's 2 segments of this short clip and how we should do combination play. It's with the winger, the fullback, and the central midfielder. It's very basic, but it's very effective. So so this I don't know if you even can see it. So zoom in and have a look. So you see here, play out to the winger. It's back four. You effectively put the ball back into central area and do.
Which teams are we watching, Jarvis? Oh, it's Leipzig and who? And Leverkusen?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Leverkusen. So this is Leverkusen, how they do it. It's very effective. The winger into the striker and out to the winger again. And then the winger has space to cross. So this is very effective combination play, and this is what I would like to see more of. But we haven't seen any of this with Man United this season. You see how the pattern is: out, in, and out. It's very basic. We used to do it when I was playing. You know, it's like 7-8 years ago. Very effective and so easy to do. But you need movement, and you need the understanding that you are not it. You are setting up your teammate to do the thing. And I think we struggle with this because I have never seen Rashford play the ball into I would say Højlund or whatever and want the ball back again on the outside. You only want to go inside to get the ball and score. So this is one of the problems. But you know, I just want to see more of this. Elite Baller, are you here, my friend?
I am. How are you guys doing? You okay?
We're okay. Good
Yeah.
to see you. Good to see you. So you've been following the show. Do you have any inputs on what you have seen so far?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a kind of question that I've been asking lots of people. Really, would you agree that we can never ever predict the lineup that Ten Hag is going to play, right? And second to that, would you also say that because we can't, it means that we're never consistent because we never know what the team's going to be. They can't build patterns like you just shown on the screen because they're not getting the relationships. I think the fullbacks have been pretty poor. They're not really offering anything going forward. So, yeah, would you agree that we can never ever predict the lineup, and that is actually a problem because it means that we're never going to be consistent? You know, Liverpool, Arsenal tend to play the same team nearly every game. They may rotate here and there, but most of the time you can guess who they're going to play in their starting 11. But with United, you can't do that.
Yeah, it's a good question. Poppy, you want to answer?
I think you got to the crux of the problem, Elite Baller, because if you don't have a repetitive lineup, how do you form repetitive sequences? And that what Jarvis just showed is something that sometimes the play, like the winger who was hugging the touchline, knows that that ball is going to come there, even if like I don't need to be sucked into the ball. Like I don't need to be going into whatever like a zone that I'm not supposed to, because every move has a purpose, you know. And one thing is, last season we had a freak amount of injuries. That's probably why we weren't able to establish a lot of those patterns. And now this season we started off with just like an okay amount. It's not like injuries that are abnormal, that like, you know, it's a normal footballing season type of injuries this season so far, at least. So that also has to have some sort of impact. But we're only 7 league games in. And I really feel like Ten Hag is still trying to figure out who his best 11 is, and that is why we're not seeing the repetition yet, you know. Yeah, but that's a very excellent question, Elite Baller, because you know it gets to what is the problem, you know.
And also, right. Also, so we haven't played Agate for the last 2 games in a row. He hasn't literally kicked the ball whatsoever. Now, in the past, when a manager has done that with a new signing that's cost a decent amount of money, people would say, well, what he's doing there is he's making a statement. He's showing, I'm not even scared to not play this guy that you just bought me. I'll do what I want. So it kind of feel like he is at war with INEOS right now, and I think he's playing a dangerous game. because obviously Ruben Van Nistelrooy is there waiting in the wings. So yeah, I'm not sure why he's not picking Ugarte. I don't buy his reasons that he's not ready to play. I don't agree with that. I think he's okay. He just needs to bed in. He'd be much more useful if he played in the double pivot with Casemiro, for example, and then you have Eriksen. Lots of us have been calling that for weeks and weeks and weeks, but it has happened once all season.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know if Tom is around. Are you here, Tom? You're on mute at the moment. No? Yeah, well, I can try to answer it. Because we saw it when we brought in Casemiro. I suspect that Casemiro wasn't Ten Hag signing. And he was reluctant to play Casemiro, I would say, for the maybe first 7 to 10 games, I would say. He didn't play much. We used Eriksen and McTominay in the double pivot or in the central area of the midfield until Casemiro in a way broke through, and I think Ten Hag has a little bit of he needs to show that he's the boss and he wants a player who wants to play his way. If INEOS brought in Ugarte to play maybe their way, as you say, there's a power struggle at the moment, and it's a dangerous game. So we will see if the players will do as Ten Hag say, or we will just see him sitting on the bench for the next 7 to 10 games. I hope Ugarte gets more game time, but I think we need to use him in the right way, and it hasn't worked so far. So I think you have a good point there. I just want to go, Tom, if you're not here. No, I'm a little bit conscious of time because we are only 10 minutes away from 2 hours, and we have the Q&A session left. So, and I have to do a quick devil's advocate too. So,
and we didn't talk Man City, but anyway, that's another one.
Time flies when it's Jarvis Corner. We would save it for another time, or maybe Tom can go through it at the end of the show if you guys are interested. So this is Devil's Advocate. Tom is not here, so Elite Baller, you have the honor to be Poppy's what do you call it? Contestant?
Sure. Contestant, yeah.
Yeah, in the Devil's Advocate. So let's just play the intro and fire up the questions. Where is it? Here, Devil's Advocate is here. Yes, and welcome to the Devil's Advocate. Today's panel is Poppy and Elite Baller. So my question is for you. Hypothetically, if Ten Hag gets the sack tomorrow and we need to bring in an interim manager for the rest of the season, and we could go back to one of our former managers, who would it be? Poppy, I'll give you Solskjaer, and Elite Baller, you have to argue for
Jose
Mourinho.
Yeah.
Poppy, you can go first.
All right. Well, do we want to feel good or not as Man United fans? Can I get a hell yeah? Because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to tell the boys, guys, it's time to express yourselves. Have some joy on the pitch. And the boys will go and score goals. Like actually the last time we had a high goal scored like in the league table was under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He finished second. He brought the feel-good factor back to Carrington. He is somebody who is very charismatic and connect with the fan base and make us feel like we're being included in part of this INEOS restructuring. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the best interim manager there is. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has a great smile. He's a legend of the club. He is somebody that will be adored. And also we will start singing Ole at the wheel, Ole at the wheel, Ole's at the wheel. That is my argument for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I think we all know that he will be better, bring better vibes than Jose Mourinho. Rest my case.
Thank you for competing, Poppy, with Ole at the wheel. People, if you like Ole to be the next interim manager, hypothetically on Devil's Advocate, type Ole in the comments field. But now Elite Baller has a chance to get his arguments in for Jose Mourinho to be the interim manager for the rest of the season.
Okay, so the reason why we need Jose instead of Ole is because Jose has the balls to take these prima donna players and tell them exactly what they're doing wrong. He will call them out. He will punish them if they're not playing well. He'll drop them. We need discipline in this team. We don't need a friendly figure. We need someone who can communicate to these players, get what we need out of them, and that's to start winning games. He is also very much in control of the media. He gets the meeting out of his hand, so we don't need to worry about that, which would make a very much a massive difference from Ten Hag, who I feel struggles in every press conference that he does. So therefore, we need the opposite of Ten Hag, we need the opposite of Ole, and we need Jose Mourinho to come back, put these players in the rightful position and get us winning no matter how. Because at the moment, we're looking more like we're going to get relegated than get into the top six. So, Jose Mourinho.
Thank you for competing in the
Devil's
one. And people, who do you think won this debate? I see here we have Craig Borby coming in and says Ole. He wanted Ole to be at the wheel again. Lily comes in and say Ole have the best record away in Premier League. Hag broke all the negative records. So I guess Lily's gives the victory to Poppy. Georgie Best comes in and say Jose 10,000%. So Lily's all day. Let's see who else have day 147 say neither. Well, you can't sit on the fence on the Devil's Advocate. You have to pick one. That's just the name of the game. And Lucky Sin comes in and gives the victory to Elite Baller. So Elite Baller, well said from Kat. And Amir comes in, bring back Ole or take Allegri. Coming in with Allegri. Yeah, so I would say it's like Ten Hag debate is very 50-50, at least from the VAR room. So I will give the first prize to both of you guys. Thank you for competing on Devil's Advocate.
How can we both get first prize? I don't want to share man of the match. I want to take it home with me.
Okay. 7 comes in and say, okay, Mourinho. So we have a winner. Elite Baller won it. Big up, Elite Baller.
This is football heritage. This is football heritage.
Disrespect. Okay, not respect.
Oh, and here's the poll comes up, and who won the Devil's Advocate debate? Poppy 62%. Elite Baller 37, 8 votes. Well,
hang on a minute. Who created this poll? who created this poll? Did Poppy create? Listen, there's only 8 votes here.
Biased. The election is fixed.
It's rigged.
Listen, Manchester City, where are you getting these tips from, mate? Omar Barraza. Are we going to start calling him Dodgy Pappy now? Is that
I had AI voting, don't worry. No, Mick is the one in the background doing the polls. So.
Oh, it's a Elite Baller won the poll. Yeah.
Wow.
So Elite Baller.
Numbers don't lie.
There we go, then.
It's 67, Poppy, 37, Elite Baller. The numbers don't lie. What are we talking about here?
Well, the boss has spoken. Okay, guys, it's time for Q&A. If you have any questions to the panel, start with the Q. Get your question in. Now the Q&A.
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Gentlemen.
Okay, we start the Q&A session. We don't have Stu here, so I have to do it. So the first question, I just want to bring up this quote from Star-Lord first before we start, because I start this message. He say, if you take shortcuts, you will get cut short. The long road is more hard, but more sure. So that's wise words from the Star-Lord himself coming in. First question is from Mickey. Say, when will Jarv and Poppy visit me in Phuket for a round of golf? I want to see a go hole in one.
Hey, yo.
We are talking about golf.
Fucking hell.
Sometime next year, Mick. I want to go visit Thailand. I want to experience the culture and food in Thailand. I'm a big foodie, and I love traveling. So, you know, it's in the pipeline.
Yeah. Same for me. If I ever get the chance, I will try to come to Thailand and visit you, Mick. But you know, it's always difficult traveling that far. I have to take like 3 weeks off just to go to Thailand. I don't know if I have the time, but someday, my friend. Kat comes in with the question. I'll give this to Tom. Tom, do you think the summer tours hinder the preparation for each new season? You know, the Monty Python flying circus all around the world.
Yeah.
5,000 hours on airplanes.
Do you know something? Whenever we've been on an American tour, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Every single start to a season, we've been terrible. Correct me if I'm wrong, because we did it last year with Ten Hag, and we had a slow burn to the start of the season. It's the same this year. Ollie went over there, I think, for 2 years as well, and he started the seasons terribly. Mourinho, in his final season, was the first time that went back to America, got sacked. The thing is, right, with the American tour, America's where United's biggest globalizing fan base is. It's a westernized... Man United's a worldwide club, but predominantly where most of the fan base is held. If you talk about overseas from the UK, you talk about America. Northern America, anyway. So... with America, you obviously fly like 4 or 5 commercial hour flights all around on tour. Every 3 days, you like reshuffle camp and you're in a new place, you're in a new area. When we did the Asia tour, the first season, it was a lot more staggered. The difference was when we did the Asia tour, we didn't then come back to Old Trafford, play a game, and then go over to Ireland and then play a game. The America tour, we'd already flown like 4 different states in America. Then we flew back to the UK. We then played a game in Ireland, if I'm not mistaken, guys. And then we played at Old Trafford against Vallecano. That's, you're cracking up air miles. You can't be doing that with players when you're trying to prepare. And people look at that and think, well, you can prepare on it. I do think some of tours hinder preparation in terms of like mentally wise, because mentally your head's like in a different time zone completely. You probably don't even know what the time is, and you ruin players' sleeping patterns and stuff. And there's one of these things that Ten Hag brought to the club, in particular, was they don't stay overnight at a team hotel anymore. And the Dutch philosophy of it, it's an old granny's tale, this anyway, is the Dutch way is that they feel like you have better comfort in your own bed with your own family rather than being in a hotel room where you have no sort of love or family connection at all. The best sleep that you get is in your home bed.
Is it true? You travel a lot. Is that true?
Listen, it must be. I'm always up every night, so it must be. I've always taken calls at 10 o'clock at night and stuff, so it must be. It doesn't do me any greatness. But I do think tours hinder preparation for a season, especially in terms of where you're going. But listen, other clubs, they don't travel as far as Man United do, and they have a decent start to a season. But I do think we could potentially cut the tour down by a week so that they can come back to Manchester and adapt for a week, and then the season starts. Because what we did this year, guys, we flew back to from America. We played the game. I think we played a couple of games behind closed doors at Carrington. On the week we returned, and then straight away we went straight into the first fixture against Fulham.
Yeah.
I just think have that week where players can come back, work at Carrington for a week, and re-acclimatise, and that's it. Pre-season tours, guys. As much as people say, what pre-season tours are for is fitness building, marketing your club around the world, and you just like bands do, guys. You just go on a worldwide tour. That's what it is. For 4 to 6 weeks. That's all that it is. But,
basically, I think it's more commercial than it is.
It's
good
a commercial.
Yeah,
it's a commercial arm of the club, the only thing that you can say it benefits football-wise is fitness. That's it.
Yeah.
But,
Well, good answer. Good answer. We have another
good
question
as
coming
well.
in. Good question. I'll give this to from Alien Tenno. We said Stella or Guinness. Yes, all of the panel.
Do you want to piss off? Right. So, do you want to piss off the Brits or do you want to piss off the Irish? Which one? Pick your poison.
Depends on what time of the day.
Well, Poppy,
you go first.
You're in America. You drink Bud Light.
I drink both Stella and Guinness. Like I like both of them. I can't pick one. I mean, if
you have to pick one, if your life depended on it, what would you drink?
Guinness. Yeah.
I'm a Stella man out of both of them. I can't stand Guinness.
We went out and they were giving it away for free in the bar, so I had 2. then when I got home, I threw over my friend's sofa. So I'm never having Guinness again. So there's your answer.
Stella. Okay. For me, I've been to Dublin. I've been at the brewery. I've been at the top floor, drinking directly from the, the source itself. I would say that pint of beer was probably the most delicious, well-tasting pint of beer I ever had. It tasted like like cream. Yeah,
fresh.
It was
it's
fresh.
None of this barrel bollocks that's in.
So if I could get that pint of Guinness every time, I would choose Guinness. But the one you get on the box is not the same. So for me, Stella.
And it usually has like a little something that's like always like in a bottle, like
shake it up.
Anyway, well,
we don't condone consumption of alcohol in Jarvis's corner, by the way. But
exactly.
No.
If you drink alcohol, drink responsibly.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the warning. We have more questions coming in. I think this is for me from Bauman. Jarvis, what is Ten Hag idea of progress? How could we assess that? That's a good question. I will try to be quick. Sorry, Bauman, I could talk for hours about this question, but idea of progress, I would say patterns of play and getting us to play the way he wants to. I think he has a very particular style of play. I've seen Ajax, and he did stuff differently with Ajax. I haven't seen any manager do stuff like he did. So he's very tactical astute in a lot of ways. But I haven't seen it at Man United, and that's the biggest question. That's the biggest problem. So I think Ten Hag wants the players to be 100% faithful to his ideas. Stick to the plan. He always says, stick to the plan. Stick to the plan. So I think he has in his mind worked out every little detail on how to play. And that's the good thing, and the bad thing is he sees the players as kind of robots who will just execute his ideas, and I think that's the biggest problem, because apparently we can't do that. So that's a big problem. So it's a very tough question to answer. How could we assess that? Well, I can't give you a good answer, but I think only Ten Hag can give that answer in a way, because I think he's too peculiar in his way and way of thought and process. So yeah, good question anyway. I just want to address this quick, Alien Tenno, and get your comment on it. Elite Baller, he say Alien comes in and say rumors out of Old Trafford. We know Alien Red Devil lives in Manchester, so he knows a lot. He's a regular season ticket holder, so we say rumors of Old
And
Trafford.
a regular Guinness drinker. But anyway, that's
Garnacho and Mainu are unsure at being at the United. Apparently, Garnacho is offering himself to Barcelona. Any comments, Elite Baller?
So the last time I heard, Ahmad wanted to stay here. He made it very public that he would. Where else would he want to be apart from United? Garnacho, maybe in the future you could see him going to Real Madrid. Obviously, he speaks Spanish, so it's perfect for him. Mainu, I don't see him wanting to leave Man United. He may be frustrated at his form. He may be a bit tired, but I don't see him wanting to leave United anytime soon. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that. I don't actually think any of our young players will be going anywhere. I think it's going to be about all the ones like, Lindelof, maybe Maguire, Shaw. I think they're the next ones out of the club, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any of you guys want to have a say?
Yeah, I mean, in Barcelona, what is he gonna do? Bench Lamine Yamal? That's never gonna happen. I don't think he should. Yeah, no. I don't see this rumor having any water or any substance in it. So, but in terms of Ahmad, if Ten Hag at the beginning of the season said this is Ahmad's year, and we have to see Ahmad playing. I don't want to see him get the Pelistri treatment. I want to see, like, so far this season, it feels like Ten Hag. Somebody mentioned it in my on my stream earlier on my channel that it seems like Ahmad has 6 Premier League appearances, but it's a little bit weird because you actually don't see him a lot in the game. Even though we've played 7 Premier League games. So when it comes to the big games, it seems like Ten Hag brushes Ahmad to the side.
Yeah, it's a preferred level.
Yeah, I want to see Ahmad being selected for those big games because he has a skill set and a profile that is so unique that we need in order to be effective. Especially, I was enjoying the partnership that he was building with Mazraoui. Yeah, and he's really elite. He's got good football IQ. He's still young, but for a player his age, he knows when to keep the possession taking, keep the ball going, and he knows when to be direct. And this is something Garnacho, education-wise, Ahmad is a little bit ahead of Garnacho, in my opinion.
Good answer. We have Amir Fikri comes in. He say, how long will Manchester United stick with this coach? Are they going to wait until the team gets relegated? Elite Baller, you can have this one.
Okay. How long will they stick with this coach? That's a very hard question. I've no idea. It could be tomorrow that he goes. I think it depends whether or not they want to bring Ruud in as a caretaker and then wait for the right manager to come in, in the summer, maybe. So it is very hard to answer that question. They're obviously not going to wait until the team gets relegated. Obviously not. That would be ridiculous. So I think if we get to the point where we know that we're not going to qualify for the Champions League, we are going to get kicked out of Europa League, I don't think they have any other option but to get rid of him. But like I said, it could happen tomorrow for all I know. People are saying in the chat at the moment that it looks like he's going now. But
yeah, good answer. Thank you for the question, Amir. We have this one from the Elite Baller. Maybe Tom can have this one. Question: is Ten Hag trying to get sacked, picking weak teams, rewarding poor form, and dropping players that are out of form, that are on form? So, do you think could it be a possibility that Ten Hag is sabotaging himself just to get the big payout?
I mean, who knows? We all have a big payday, don't we, guys?
But what are we talking about? What's the payout? Is it 10? Is it 15 million? 17? I heard rumors about.
According to form, it's 10 million personally to Ten Hag. It's 17 altogether, but it's 10 to him, and then 7 gets split between the rest of them. But what happens when a manager gets sacked is the manager's agency gets paid out the full reimbursement, and then they legally have to bind it out between the coaching staff of how much each of them get of the piece of it. Or, for example, if Ten Hag is sacked and Rude steps in, Rude won't be paid out of it. Because he's been kept on, he's still under the same contractual terms as being an assistant coach, but he gets paid an assistant coach's sort of wage, if you like, rather than a full-term manager's jobbing. That's how it works, unless they incline his role to be like an interim manager or a permanent manager, and then they have to renegotiate a contract with him personally. But that's how it works anyway, and it would work if they do decide to get rid of him. He's sabotaging himself. The only thing I'm going to say is, for people that don't know personally, in Eastern Holland, Eric Ten Hag's spouses and family are very wealthy. They're worth in and around $50 million. They've got assets that are worth up to around $80 million, but on their own net worth wise, they've got about $50 million net worth with it. He comes from a very privileged background. He's not one of these managers that's had to fight and scrape through education. He's had things the right way. Private intuition when he was brought up, proper playing career through assessments, did all of the legalities. He's never been short of a few quid in his pocket. Put it that way about Ten Hag. So, if we're talking about sabotaging from a financial aspect, I can't understand why. The guy doesn't need to coach. He could sail off in the sunset and live on a beach in Marbella for the rest of his life, and he's not going to have to move a muscle anyway. He's in for football for the right reasons, as I call it. But the only thing I would say is he picking weak teams. When you throw £300 million worth of players on the bench for players who are supposedly not good enough, I agree with that. I can't, and we've all said this and we've all agreed tonight, we can't understand why Ten Hag has to be asked these questions, but is he going to be pressed on it? Probably not. Rewarding poor form, again, same thing. Why Fernandes has played consistently when we can see Eriksen's outshining him in the same position, in the same team when they transition roles. Eriksen just far outweighs him in terms of ball knowledge, weight of pass, application. Again, we can't understand that. And dropping players that are on form, again, when you're looking at, for example, Ahmad, who has a decent couple of games, builds up towards a big game, like Poppy said. He didn't play the Liverpool game. He didn't play the Villa game at the weekend. Again, there's 2 games that are big, integral parts of our season, because there are like top 4 rivals, if you like, and he's not started them. Again, we just can't. There's no explanation for it, and I don't. The only thing that Ten Hag's used to back his point up is it's for rotational purposes. But come on, guys, your job's on the line. If your job's on the line and it's that meaningful for you, you just play your best team and hope for the best. If you've got nothing left, that's all you can do. It's either you go with experienced players, or you just play all your best players and just hope Houdini comes to your rescue and it works. That's all you can say. But I don't think it's self-sabotage personally, but I just think he's making a lot of bad decisions.
At this rate, Tom, they might just end up. INEOS should say, "Okay, we're putting Rene as head coach is for rotational purposes, and you, Ten Hag, you're gonna be assistant."
Do you know something? Right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't even. Has that ever happened in history where a manager and a coach have swapped places?
I doubt
in all of football, it can't have happened. Surely. There'll be some historian, somebody in the comments, find out if that's actually happened or not, where a manager's swapped with an assistant. It's one of those weird things that I think it has happened, but it never gets spoken about. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
It is. Well, I can't think of anyone on top of my mind, but yeah. Probably in the early days of football that have happened, but not out of obvious reasons, more than maybe they didn't have the time to be the manager, but they
Yeah,
want to be involved with the team and still coach now and then. Yeah. So let's go to the next question. We have 3 questions left before we wrap up the Q&A session. It's a question from Mick Ruby. He said, should we scrap preseason tour considering how many games now been played around the continent? Players' welfare at risk. So Elite Baller, can you answer this question, please?
Should we scrap them? Yes. Will we scrap them? No, because they make too much money for the club, and the club is a business, right? Also, if you want to think about it for unselfish reasons, there's millions of people who don't live anywhere near Manchester and will never be able to afford to get there. So if it means that they are able to watch their beloved team for just one day in their whole life, then you can't deny them that. You can't deny them that. But yeah, players are playing too many games. We've had 2 international tournaments in the last 2 summers, and we wonder why players are getting injured constantly. So it's a balance between the welfare of the players and the welfare of the club trying to make money, because it is a business. Simple as that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's a business. It's a business. Good question. A good answer. And thank you, Mick, for that question. So Dav147 comes in with the question. Jarvis, would you continue with Erik Ten Hag till the end of the season if we are bottom 5 after Christmas?
Ooh.
Well, as a principle, I believe in longevity. I believe giving people the chance to finish what they started. So if I have any principles, I would say yes, I would let him continue, because I think it's just the way it is. But should he continue if you're bottom 5? I don't think so. If you're
Jarvis,
bottom
that's
five.
sackable form. Like Christmas, we would have played how many games? At least 15 league games, I think.
Yeah.
That's a quarter of the season.
Yeah. Somewhere you gotta draw the line, Jarvis.
Yeah, it's a hard question, but thank you, Dav147. I don't know if I even answer your question, but I need to think about it. But most likely, yes. Most likely,
Politicians
yes.
answer, Jarvis. Politicians answer.
Well, it's a good question, but it's very hard to answer it. But I believe in longevity. That's one of my things. So you're putting me on the spot there, Dev. Last question for the night. It's a brilliant question from Kat. This is the question of the night. The question is, how do you think the players would react to Ten Hag being sacked? Yes. So maybe we all can have a quick go at that question, because this question is so brilliant. Thank you, Kat. Poppy, you go first.
Kat, I think they would react in the same way they have done over the last couple of years. When we see a new manager, we know this thing called new manager bounce. They have a new sort of like clean slate. They obviously, it's even going to be magnified by the fact that INEOS will be watching to see how the players perform. So it's now between the board and the players, and that really will be playing for the position, for that salary, pretty much. And I think it's something that feels like it could be a short-term solution, but I do not want us to get drawn into that. I still feel like right now we have to go the long route. And I like what was it Elite Baller? It was somebody who had a really nice quote about taking shortcuts will cut you short. What was that again, Jarvis? Yes, Star-Lord. It was Star-Lord. If you take shortcuts, you will get cut short. The long road is more hard, but more sure. So I feel like, I want to make sure that I include that in my answer, that we will see a new energy from the players. You'll see a Christian Eriksen that you haven't seen before, a new Marcus Rashford, almost Bruno Fernandes will be a new person, but I just don't want to do that at the expense of the manager at this point in time.
Mm-hmm. Good answer. Elite Baller, how do you think the players will react if Ten Hag gets sacked?
That's an interesting question because I think it will be divided. So, for example, if you use Bruno as an example, if I were him, I'd be very upset because I don't see any other manager playing Bruno every game, regardless of form. So straight away, I'd say he'd be disappointed. But then some other players who aren't getting a fair look in, they might be happy that he's gone. So it just depends who you ask, really. But I think let's be honest here. No player is going to be enjoying the scrutiny of their manager being constantly judged and pressurized and thinking, is he going to get sacked tomorrow? Is he going to get sacked tomorrow? It's not good for anyone's mental health, and it's not good for anyone's career as a footballer, because you need consistency, you need to be settled, you need peace of mind, and right now no one has got any of those things.
Mm-hmm. Good answer. And Tom, do you want to have a go?
To be honest with you, I think they'd be divided. And I've said this to you before, Jarvis, because this dressing room is split right down the middle with players who he has affection towards. He had affection towards them at another club. He's then brought them to our club, thinking that they are superstars or are going to massively improve us. Some of them have worked, some of them haven't. Okay, he's had a couple of blanks and he's fired some good bullets and brought us some decent players. But half of the squad is Dutch or Ajax orientated. That is going to favour Ten Hag and is going to have some sort of affection towards him. And the other half of the squad has no allegiance, no bias, and no affection towards him whatsoever, because he's just another manager that's come to this club. If you want me to divide it for you, you have Xerxes, Mazraoui, De Ligt, Martinez, Onana. The list goes on of Ajax players, Dutch players. That's a divided of the dressing room, who they will want to fight for Ten Hag because he's brought them to this club. He's the only reason why they're here. Without Ten Hag, a lot of them wouldn't probably be here, guys, because it's not a sustainable transfer policy. You buy players based upon a style, not because you know them or that they're a good character at another club. The other half of the squad, players like Rashford, Delo, Maguire. Maguire's not going to have any allegiance to him. He stripped him the captaincy and made him look like a mug. Johnny Evans, to this regard anyway, he's a professional character of the dressing room, but he's going to understand that this can't go on. He's won things at this club. He's won league titles, guys. He's not going to look in that dressing room and suddenly think, oh, this is great. He's not. This is what I mean. I think if he does end up going, guys, I do think the squad's going to be divided. But that's where I think the new manager will come in place, and I think they will just work with the players until the end of the season. That's where you have this trial period. You don't have to waste a full season feeling players out, and then when they get to that summer window with a new manager, that's then where I think a lot of these players are going to know, oh, right, my time's up. Man United's out. I'm out of here. They're on the phone to agent, get me a new club. I'm in shit here. They don't want me anymore. And to be honest with you guys, if a lot of these players walked out the door at the end of the season, I'm not going to be, crying over spilt milk. You need to refresh your squad every couple of years anyway. And look, if a manager isn't being successful, you're always going to refresh your squad to look for improvements. A manager, if he's not being successful after a couple of years, is going to be the same thing. But I just look at I could name a lot of coaches that are out there right now. And I think with the players that we have, I just think that they can fit into a proper style if they come with their style and they don't abandon it like Ten Hag did, and they actually stick to their principles, not because of the scrutiny and the pressure, but because it's what they believe football should be played. And I just think they'd get a lot better out of the players that we have right now, to be honest with you. And at the end of the day, you're not going to have this divided dressing room. It's either you're on board with me or you're not. You don't have no player in this dressing room would have any connection to a new manager. It's all new faces. It's a new face for them, but he also has to look at a dressing room of new faces as well that he's probably never worked with before. And I just look at that and I think, if you're looking at change, that's where we're going to see if these players are going to make it at this club or not. What do you think, Jarvis? We'll put it to you as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll finish off with my thoughts on this brilliant question. The thing is, we have a lot of young players, and if we are learning them that Man United is a sacking club and you don't perform, the players get the manager gets the blame, and the players gets away with it. So I think we are starting in a new way, teaching all these youngsters that it doesn't matter. You can perform bad, and the manager will take the blame. So in a way, I would like to expose them. We all remember how toxic it was at the end of Ole's reign, and everybody was blaming Ole. And then Ragnick came in, and nothing improved. So it was clearly the players in my mind. They didn't have the right mentality. Okay, Ole wasn't probably the best coach in the world, but they didn't give a fuck. They just played. They didn't respect him in a way, but at the end of the day, they didn't respect the club and us as fans. And I don't want this group of players learning this, especially the young ones. In our squad, we have players who have allegiance to Ten Hag. I would say the new signings, the Ajax signings, Højlund, Kobe Mainu, the youngsters he brought up, will probably have allegiance to him, but we have a lot of players who don't have it. I would say maybe Diallo has always been benched. You have Harry Maguire, who's not been a regular starter. Ten Hag took the captaincy away. Victor Lindelof never gets to play. I don't know, but I think it will be divided. Some players will feel bad. Other players will be happy about Ten Hag going. I believe so. And one key figure in this, I think Rashford will be very happy. Just my speculations if Ten Hag goes. And that's not a good thing because we are stuck with Rashford, and I don't want him to be a player that can influence others when the next tough going and we come to a crossroad, because I think it's very important that the players are focused on what they are going to do, and that's performing and playing football, not sacking or backing the manager. So that's just my thoughts on it. So that's the last question of the night. Any final words, guys, before we wrap up?
A lot of people have been saying that Ten Hag is getting sacked in the morning or sacked in the next 48 hours after the meeting on Tuesday. What are you guys saying? Elite Baller, do you think it's going to happen? Tom, Jarvis, I'm curious. There's some people that are convinced it's going to happen.
Well, I just posted in the chat something from the Telegraph saying that he's gone on holiday, Ten Hag.
True.
But he's gone on holiday under the assumption that his job is safe. So you're just seeing conflicting reports constantly. I just don't think we'll know until it's actually official. But it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me, especially with the fact that Ruud van Nistelrooy is there waiting in the wings. And if you actually look at the last couple of games and you look at the body language of Ruud van Nistelrooy compared to Ten Hag, Ruud van Nistelrooy looks more like a manager of Man United than Ten Hag does. Ten Hag looks lost. He looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to get these players motivated. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy has got more fight in him right now. So to me, if it was my business, I know what I would do. I would say, Ruud, we're looking for someone in the summer, but until then, give it your best shot. I know you love this club. You know, you've got great levels of... You've worked under the best managers. You've worked with the best players. If anyone can get through to these players, it's you, Ruud. So that's what I think is going to happen.
Could be another Frank. It could be another Frank Lampard.
I mean, well,
oh Lord,
it could be.
Where did that come from? Hang on a minute.
Not Frank.
That's a low blow. That's a low blow.
Frank is a one of a kind.
Low blow. What are you doing to our boy Ruud? What do you mean? He's showing a bit of fight, a bit of desire. What did Frank Lampard show? All he had to show was his bank balance. He's working for, he's scraping an appearance on TNT Sports now. That's all the guy's doing. He can't get a job in football. No, but look, if I'm going to say as well, guys, with this speculation and that, the one point that I made on Nuruddin's show yesterday about it was Joe Glazer's never come over to this country for 7 years to have any sort of a meeting, appearance, speak with fans or anything. He spoke to the fan advisory board today, along with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the INEOS delegation. Apparently today was predominantly more about the regenerational project of Old Trafford. A lot of the local councillors was there, like Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Manchester, was there, and Lord Coes leading the task force to revolutionise the area of Manchester was there as well. So that's predominantly what today was about. And tomorrow is the executive advisory board's meeting, which they have every month, predominantly in London. And effectively, that's where you have you basically have the Avengers assemble like you had in the director's box. Everybody in director's box is in a big boardroom. They discuss the options of it all, and then that's where they'll go from there. But as I've said before, guys, and I'm going to say one last point, I think people always forget this. One person still runs this football club above Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and that is Joe Glazer. He has the final say on anything that happens throughout this club. He is the majority shareholding. If he says, hold on. If he says, sack Eric Ten Hag, they have to fall in line and they have to do it. And if it means that the Glazers principle will always live on at this club so long as they are still here, which is if top four's in danger or you don't get top four, you're out the door. And the only reason why I think he was kept here, guys, was because I think Jim convinced him to say, let's give him a go. We can't find anybody else. You know, we've put the target finder in on the market. We can't find anybody else. Just give him a go. Give him a go, Joel. You know, you've let me buy in. You've trusted me. Trust my judgment now. But if Joel says it's time to go, it'll be time to go. And Jim's got to follow his orders. Because if he doesn't, well, he'll just take action anyway. And that's it. Yeah, and that's what I say, Dave. Joel's still in charge. That's where he's thrown in, absolutely. Yeah. But even with the Glazer family, Joel doesn't fly over. It's Avram that always flies over to make the appearances at the stadiums or to represent the family. So the fact that Joel's flown over for it, it's a little bit different. And that's why I don't look at this and I think, why is the big boss all of a sudden flown over when there's a big decision to be made? He never wanted to make big decisions when it was just him on his own. But now he's got all the other cronies and he's got all the other directors in the room with him who are going to advise him on what to do. At the end of the day, I know who sits at the end of the head of the table. And it's not Sir Jim Ratcliffe, it's Joel Glazer. And the Glazer's principle is don't make top four or don't look like you're going to make top four. And the data points towards that he's not going to get that, guys. Analytics people will be in that room and they'll say the data shows Eric Ten Hag's not on course to make top four. Joe Glazer, P45. But whether they do it now or later on, guys, is another matter. But if it was up to the Glazers and this was their decision, I think we all know where it would be going. Regardless of our opinions, if top four is in doubt or it's not there to be got, guys, they get rid of you. And that's how it works.
But do you think it sets a precedence for INEOS? Even they haven't been in charge for that long, sacking the manager just
not
after
really,
10 games.
I don't think it sets a precedent because what I think they can do is what I think they would honestly do is I think they would come out. So I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe, he loves an interview now. He's a mastermind. He loves a camera in his face and everything. Yeah. If Ten Hag's gone and he doesn't have to be careful with what he says, he'll probably just turn around to people and say, look, Eric's a great coach, but he just wasn't for us. That's the feeling and the impression he gave in the summer. But because he won the FA Cup, it was like there was an emotional attraction there. And I think a lot of people forget this. There's certain people within who have high profilings, who are Manchester United fans, wrote letters to the Manchester United board begging them to keep Eric Ten Hag on board. And they made the point that they represent the whole fan base. They didn't represent the whole fan base. They represented their own opinion and own interest. That's not a democracy. And it's a hostile takeover of fan opinion or fan rule books. And at the end of the day, do I honestly think what you've just said, Jarvis, anyway, that it sets a bad precedent? No, because every club sacks a manager until they get it right. So the only thing with INEOS is what they can say to any new manager, everybody would be privileged. If INEOS contact you and say, "Do you want to be a Man United manager?" It's a privilege to even be offered it. It's one of those high-profile jobs. Whether it's going good or it's going shit, if you get offered it, you tell your agent, "I want to answer that phone call, please." And that's why I think INEOS. Listen, they've sold this project to players very well. They sold it to get Barada out of City. They sold it to Ashworth to get him out of Newcastle. They sold it very well to all of these people. And I can only think, Jarvis, that if they do get rid of Ten Hag, they are going to sell it well to whoever they want. And when they've bought all these people in from all these clubs, you wouldn't think that United could go to Man City and get a director out of there, would we? We didn't think that was even possible.
No, yeah.
We didn't think you could get Ashworth out of Superdome, Saudi Arabian, back Newcastle. They did it. So if they get rid of Ten Hag, I would fully expect they have no problems pulling up to any club in Europe and saying, "We want your head coach. We will pay you X. You give coach. See you later. Hasta la vista." They will buy whoever they want out of football.
Do you know, Tom, who's never been mentioned?
About
One
what?
guy who's out of a job, who's won the Champions League a lot of times.
Oh, question time. Let's have a guess who this is. Rafa Benitez.
No, a manager. He's free on the market.
Zidane.
Yes. Yes, sir. Zidane.
Yeah,
Zidane. He's free on the market. And funnily enough, I heard strong rumors from good sources that Zidane was the man Jean-Claude Blanche wanted in May. He was Jean-Claude Blanche's main
I think
man.
he wanted him when he was at PSG as general manager as well, wasn't he? Because there was because Deschamps was supposed to leave, but he didn't leave, and then...
So if the INEOS are good enough convincing people, if they can't convince Zidane to come in, then I think they will sack Ten Hag immediately. But if not, I think they will go for best in class, as you mentioned.
Yeah, they'll go for whoever.
I don't think they will bring in Thomas Tuchel. I don't think he's best in class.
To be honest with you,
Graham Potter.
Listen, I don't think they'll go for a manager who's just out of work, because if they wanted to hire Tuchel, they could have done it in the summer. I do think that they will probably, if they do get rid of Ten Hag, I think they'll speak to him, and they'll say, "Where's your head at now?" After a couple of months of reflection. But I don't just think that they're going to... INEOS, they don't steamroll in on one target and say, "That's just who we want." When we were going for centre-backs, guys, we were negotiating with like 3 different clubs for 3 different players. We didn't just go for one player. It was we had a safety net. We had a plan to go for different people. And that's why I think if they do get rid of Ten Hag, they'll probably speak to Tuchel again. They might speak to Zidane. They might speak to, listen, we're laughing about it. They might speak to Graham Potter. Doesn't mean they're going to get. It doesn't mean you're going to get the job. It's just, are you interested? What sort of money would you want? What can you bring to us? And blah blah blah. Sell yourself, and that's it. But I agree with what Jarvis said. Anyway, look, if you want to get a manager out of work, the most best and high profile one you can get is Zidane. The only thing I'm going to say about that, and we all know this anyway, he doesn't speak the lingo. He never came here as a player when he had multi-million-pound offers to come here and play. And on top of all of that, he doesn't like it where it rains. So Manchester ain't the place for him, mate. When you have a rainy, miserable day and you lose 3-0, mate, rain's going to be pissing on you. You're not in your smart suit playing tennis in your tennis shorts or anything like you are in Spain. But do you know something, guys, with Zidane? I just think he enjoys retirement right now. I think he's that kind of guy. He's just enjoying life away from football. He doesn't do any punditry. He doesn't do any news work. Doesn't have an interview hardly ever. I mean, can we remember the last guy when the guy was even interviewed about anything? He's quite a privatized guy right now, and that's why I don't think we could probably.
Well, I'm just thinking big. You made me think of it.
I know.
All these big names, you know. So
yeah. If they get rid of Ten Hag, I just think that even if they can't get Zidane or Tuchel or whoever, they're not bothered, guys. They'll rock up there. We're Man United. Blah blah blah. We got Omar out of City. We've done the bits around it all. Getting a manager out of a club's not a problem for these guys. It isn't. And as we say, guys, if money's not a problem sacking Ten Hag, then money's not going to be a problem to hire his successor out of wherever they want to go. But I want to go for a manager based upon a style, not based upon what they've won. And I think we'll all agree upon that. I don't care. I don't care about accolades anymore, guys. It doesn't matter to me. It matters to what you're going to bring to me week in, week out. And if what you bring week in, week out falls in line with the future, brilliant. If it doesn't, fine. You get a guy who can win you something. That's it. But at least you'll have built it to a better place to win something.
Good final words there from Tom. I think that's the end of the show. We have some gifts coming in from Mick with the gifted 10 MUFC Realist TV memberships for all you legends staying on, watching us after 2 hours and 45 minutes. We are blessed. We are happy to have you guys on and sitting with us, listening to us talking about football. So thank you, everybody, for contributing with your brilliant comments. And the guys and girls who got the memberships from MUFC Realist TV, Mick Ruby is Joel Abraham, Suleiman Shan, Stuart Marston, True Blood Clay, Ibrahim Tube, Adele Hakim, Mike Hill, Ty. Is it the Ty from the other channel? Well, if big up Ty, Silverback G, and Detta Life Beta. So welcome to the team. Everybody, thank you for contributing. Brilliant panel. Poppy, do you want to promote your channel?
Oh, you know, Football Power Hour is where you can find me, and we're always there. Pretty much every day on Fridays, we usually do the happy hour. So, this happy hour is gonna be fun because it's an international break, and we get to be a little bit more relaxed and have time to just brush up on our football trivia knowledge. So, come through there. If not, you'll find me here still. So like, share, subscribe, and all that. And thank you guys so much for watching and being a part of the conversation as well in the chat. We really appreciate that.
And the regular panelist, Tom Journalist One, thank you for your insightful knowledge about everything that when it comes to football and a great debate on Ten Hag. I'm always thankful for you coming on and being a part of this team.
Yeah.
And of course, our special guest for the evening, Elite Baller, big up, bro. Thank you for joining us for 20 minutes. That became almost more than an hour. So it was brilliant.
Absolute pleasure, guys. Always good to be with you guys, having a good, reasonable chat. Thank you.
Yeah.
Big up, Elite Baller.
Big up. And thank you for the people watching. Craig Warby, Alien Red Devil. I always call you Peter, but Lilis always coming in, backing the channel. Lucky Singh staying on, commenting. What else do we have? We have Mr. B, Wizard, Cat with her brilliant question. Thank you, Cat. Amir Fakir is here, and who else do we have? Let's just scroll a little bit because we have been going so long. Jamie Wayne, hopeful that Ten Hag will get the sack tomorrow, and reading into Ten Hag leaving on vacation. Don't get your high hopes, hope up too high, because no one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. It will be an interesting day, and I'm sure Mick Ruby will be live tomorrow on this, and Tom, you will probably be live with Nuruddin on United Real Therapy tomorrow, and covering the breakdown of the board meeting. So that's the end of the show. 2 hours 49 minutes. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully we will see you on the next. Have a good one. Bye.
Eric Ten Hag in.
Go Man United.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching MUFC Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.